I am extremely conflicted here because I'm going up against Sal this week in the Flock League. He has Christian McCaffrey, so honestly, if McCaffrey were to miss on Sunday, it would put me in a really good spot, and I'd probably win the matchup because of it. But I've also drafted McCaffrey in a bunch of underdog best ball drafts, so I have money elsewhere that really needs McCaffrey to play. So let's go through and let's look at everything that we've had here. Obviously, it's more important trying to figure out what we have when it comes to McCaffrey in the long term than just this season. But first thing is, we are seeing doctors all over Twitter. Now, of course, you can say, Mason, this crap's not legit. What else am I supposed to do? I mean, I have a biology degree, but I'm not going to be able to sit here and do this on my own. Jeff Mueller says there's also a 50% chance that the Niners are being excessively cautious with McCaffrey because I'm 100% confident that he's not doing this on a freshly strained calf, especially given his past injury history, but we'll see. The dude's jumping up and down like the Easter Bunny here. I don't necessarily know. That tells us he's good to go on Sunday. We can go through and we can try to see what other clips that we've had from practice. So McCaffrey's return to practice Friday. Here's a thread of all the videos that have emerged. So the big thing that I have seen with people talking online is McCaffrey's not getting a normal practice in. It is him working out on the sidelines, him kind of doing his own thing. And we should later in this stream get more information when Shanahan talks to reporters. I mean, hell, it's hilarious that I got added on this thread. I didn't even know I got added. We just searched this up. But thank you for whoever added me here to make sure that I would have seen this. Is this what my recent notification was? Let me see. Or is that something else? Maybe it was, I don't know. But regardless, if we were looking at that, it's not super encouraging to know that McCaffrey's not getting in a normal practice and instead he's just working out on the sides. I saw some other people mentioning what could potentially play out here. We had this, I know Sal sent this in our group chat earlier this morning, where Tom Pelissero implies that the Niners are being overly cautious with McCaffrey and there are no alarm bells ringing. I'm hoping that the news that we get from Shanahan in a couple hours is good because they're going to ask him about this. And in this live stream, we should get that news and I should be able to keep you updated. Now, obviously, I'm going to keep the updated rankings on the site all the way until NFL kickoff on Sunday. So if you need some help with your start-sit questions, one, I'm going to be answering a bunch of start-sit questions in this stream. But two, if you got the season pass to the site, you could always go out there and just look at my updated ranks. I'm going to preemptively move McCaffrey down where we had previously had him at RB2. I want to say that this game's not going to be played on the main slate. This is going to be played at like 3 p.m. So if you're looking at McCaffrey in comparison to some of the guys that are going to be playing early, I would actually move McCaffrey behind Achane at this point now that Achane's fully healthy. I mean, if I had to make the call, do I start like Kamara or James Conner early, or am I going to wait to roll the dice on McCaffrey? I would probably go Conner and Kamara. I'm not going to like move Brian Thomas Jr. up this week in the rankings dramatically until we would get official word that McCaffrey were to miss. But because McCaffrey is the later game, I don't know if I could ever like rank him in the weekly rankings ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs, where I'd rather you just, if for whatever reason you were considering like CMC or Gibbs, obviously you just take the player that you know is going to play. So I'm going to move him down here still as somebody that you're most likely playing this week. Obviously, if he does play, he's in your lineup, but something that you want to monitor and something you want to be a little bit cautious with. Now, I will keep you posted as we get more news as this goes on. Let me see if Underdog's actually updated their pick and projections with this. And as I do that, I'm going to stall by reminding y'all that Underdog Fantasy has a ridiculous amount of promos going on right now. One, you have a 50% profit boost token for the game tonight. Now, I will say with the game tonight, if you're watching this as a video later on, probably a little too late for you to be able to take advantage. But if you wanted to tell us on what we are doing for the game tonight, this is what I put together. I'm going to be going with Kelsey to have fewer than 51 receiving yards, Mahomes to have fewer than 19.5 fantasy points, and Amari and Hampton to have higher than 9.85 fantasy points. I used my 50% profit boost token to boost this from $50 to about $400. If you wanted to tell me that on Underdog, If you're new to Underdog Fantasy, they are going to add $50 into your account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, there will be a 100% profit boost token that drops on Saturday, where we are going to be able to go through and we are going to be able to take advantage of that for the Sunday games, which I'll let y'all know what we are doing there, of course. But I've just been stalling on as we can go through and as we can pull this up. Underdog still does have McCaffrey. His projected pick'ems out for tomorrow. They have McCaffrey at higher lower 17.65 points and still have him higher lower 106.5. So maybe that is encouraging if you were trying to figure out if you're going to still start him. But again, Shanahan should give us some more information about that soon. And if you wanted to tell us on Underdog or come up with your own picks, the link's in the description. It's in the comment section. Again, use code FLOCK. That way you're going to get $50 added to your account. That way you are going to be able to get also at the same time those additional boosted promo tokens. And if you got the season pass on flockfantasy.com, make sure you fill out the Google form. That way you can get an extra $10 into your account. So you can deposit like $10, play 5, and then have $70 in your account to play with. Now let's go over and let's answer some start sit questions here. This one's going to come out from Ross. Here, the best option that we'd have on our bench would be Matthew Golden. If you wanted to play Golden here with the Reed injury, I'm not going to fault you whatsoever for it. For me, we saw the Ricky Pearsall spike at the end of last season. I think I am probably just going to be going with the baseline floor that you get with Pearsall, especially with how good your team is here, to be honest. Okay, let me zoom out a bit so we can fit more of this in the screen. Join Avenue. Quarterback, I'm going to be going with Goff over Young. Not in love with Goff this week, though. Wide receiver, Puka and Tet will be auto starts for you. Tight end, we're going to be going Tucker Kraft over Evan Ingram with the Jaden Reed injury. Alvin Kamara is going to be an auto start, and I'd go with Pacheco over the wide receivers as well. Now, let's move this over. Trey E32 with our next question. We're going to start Calvin Ridley despite the tough matchup, and we're going to go with J.K. Dobbins in that same game. Obviously, we did not start Javonte Williams here, which maybe is a little bit upsetting. I wish I was smart enough to told y'all to play Javonte, but sadly, I just simply had no idea he was going to be able to go up against the Eagles defense and do that, even if he had no Carter. Now, go Jets. Here, Lamar quarterback. Running back, I'm going to go Kamara Bijan. Tight end, Kelsey. And then for the flex, I'm going to be playing, I'm assuming you already played A.J. Brown. If you didn't play A.J. Brown, in the flex, you would go JSN and Aaron Jones. But I'm assuming you played A.J. Brown, and I'm assuming you only have one flex spot. And in that case, we are going to go ahead and we are going to take JSN over Aaron Jones. Now, let's move this over. I hope that we actually have a McCaffrey trade that we can look at here, which will be interesting. Gridiron God says, does this improve my team or do we stand put? So I have Evans and Kamara ranked in a similar range. This is going to be a league where you can start a bunch of wide receivers. So I like building around the wide receiver depth. We have a ton of it. We have Ladd, we have London, we have Lamb, we have Evans. And our running back 1 is Breece Hall and our running back 2 is Isaiah Pacheco. So technically I have Mike Evans over Alvin Kamara in my rankings, but I think based off your roster, you were completely fine to pivot to Kamara here. Now, let's move this over to CMC, please. I'm assuming you changed your site username after the CMC report yesterday, which is funny. Are we going to trade Travis Etienne for Brian Robinson? Please spam the chat right now. If you had McCaffrey and you had Travis Etienne, would you trade Travis Etienne for Brian Robinson? I updated my rankings on the site yesterday, rest of season. I moved Brian Robinson up to running back 32 at the very top of the premium handcuff backs. Because if CMC were to miss, Brian Robinson smokes Travis Etienne this year. But again, let's see. We got no, yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, 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 no, yes, 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 yes. That's how I have it ranked as well. You can see that I have Travis Etienne ranked at RB33. I have Brian Robinson ranked at RB32 right now. And obviously, these rankings are going to be very fluid. If this is in your inbox, I wouldn't mind if you literally just waited a couple hours, see what Kyle Shanahan says, maybe 2 hours from now or 1 hour from now. I don't know how long it's going to take. And then make your decision based off that. But right now, I do have Brian Robinson ahead of ETN, but that's going to be a ranking that obviously gets updated a ton over the next week. Now, Mr. Service, this is J.K. Dobbins, DK Metcalf versus T. Higgins. So do we need the running back production? We have Gibbs, we have Chase Brown, we have David Montgomery. So honestly, completely fair price point. I also have DK Metcalf and T. Higgins in the flock league, but I do view T. Higgins in a different tier than Metcalf based off offenses. Now, regular strategy says I'd be throwing in a future third and fourth. Don't care. Fourth round dynasty pick. Frankly, does not matter at all when we're talking about assets as big as CeeDee Lamb. Now, looking at this, we have Swift and Lamb versus the first Kamara and T. Higgins. For me, Swift, Kamara, not that far off. Kamara, you get one season from. It'll be a better year than Swift, but Swift, you could potentially have 2 years from. CeeDee Lamb versus T. Higgins in the first. I would probably rather just have CeeDee Lamb. And if you were rebuilding, I understand wanting to pick up the first round pick, but at the same time, we wouldn't want to trade for Kamara for rebuilding. Now, Zach Spoth says 12-team PPR redraft, need a running back upgrade, starting Johnson. Okay, so here, McBride to JSN, downgrade. Caleb Johnson to TJ Hawkinson, lateral move. Cam Scatterbo to RJ Harvey, big time upgrade. Like, if you're starting Caleb Johnson right now, I understand needing a running back upgrade, but I don't want to start RJ Harvey right now either. Both Caleb Johnson and RJ Harvey are pretty much just long-term plays at running back. So, up to you. I think value-wise, it's a completely fair deal if you wanted to go get the running back upgrade, especially in a league where tight ends maybe going to matter a little bit less because it's a 12-team multi-flex format. You can start up to 8 players. May make up a slightly smaller percentage of our starting lineup up weekly, but it is kind of going to be up to you here. Now, our next question, the anime guy coming through. For the flex, we have Xavier Worthy as an auto start. Don't think about it. Worthy with no Rice tonight. You need him in your lineup. Now, I'm a Joe. This is Dobbins, Pollard. Okay, I'm going to go Pollard. I think Dobbins obviously is in a much better offense in this game. They're favored by like 7 points. But Dobbins, you have to worry about RJ Harvey taking some work. Tony Pollard, you have no worries whatsoever with Tajay Spears being out. So I'm going to go ahead. I will take Tony Pollard in this. Now, moving over to our next flex. This is Dobbins versus like Calvin Ridley, Josh Downs. Here it's a little bit tougher. Full PPR format, so obviously we want to give a slight bump up to the receiver. I absolutely hate starting 2 Tennessee Titans in a game environment like this where the Titans project to be the worst offense in the NFL this week. I currently do have Dobbins ranked ahead of Ridley. Full PPR format's definitely going to be closer. And obviously, rest of season, I would assume that most weeks we are going to be starting Calvin Ridley. And I would not play Chig over Hunter Henry. Go Hunter Henry over Chig quite confidently here. Now, harmful Jet. Here, running back, we have Pacheco, Hampton, Kenneth Walker to choose from. I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker now that we have Najee Harris good to go tonight. Am I panicking and going like, oh my gosh, you can't start Amari in Hampton? No, I think Najee Harris has had like 2 or 3 practices with the Los Angeles Chargers. So I'm still very much on Amari in Hampton. Like if you go through and if you look at that pick'em that I took for the game tonight, again, I'm taking Amari in Hampton to have higher than 9.85 fantasy points on Underdog. So I'm in on Hampton, but Kenneth Walker, you have no concerns with whatsoever. And then going over to the flex, I'm going to take Tet McMillan, and honestly, not going to think much about it. But you have a phenomenal team here, even with how shallow your league is. Now, J. Rule, this is Lamar and Barkley versus Bo Nix and Bucky Irving. I must be missing something. Maybe you meant to say, like, would I trade Lamar and Bo Nix for Lamar and Bucky? Like, what's the context that I'm missing? Is this a dynasty league? Is this a keeper league? Like, why would we ever consider the Bo Nix, Bucky Irving side? So I'm very easily going to go with Lamar Jackson here. I don't think we have to think twice about it. Now, Splithe with our next question. Here for the flex, we got Kenneth Walker and JSN. Full PPR format. Give me JSN. Give me the guaranteed target volume, especially against the Niners where the Niners are favored. So we don't want to say like the Seahawks can just run the ball over and over again. Now, Vic713 with our next question. We're going to go Lawrence over Herbert. Much better matchup, much better game total or implied team total. And then for the flex, Travis Hunter, Calvin Ridley is going to be tough. I like the matchup way more for Travis Hunter. I like the guaranteed role that we have for Ridley. I have them ranked back-to-back at 55 and 56 in my rankings. I think Travis Hunter is going to give you the higher ceiling. I think Calvin Ridley is going to give you the higher floor. So I'm going to be up to you with that. But two things real quick. One, can you spam the chat? Let me know, who would you start this week? Hunter against the Panthers or Calvin Ridley against the Broncos? Second thing is as well, when we hit 200 likes on the live stream, we are going to be giving away free start sit questions, free trade questions to people in the live chat. So if you have not done so already, go down there and drop that like button. And if somehow you're not already subscribed, hit the bell next to the subscribe button. It will tell you when we go live on YouTube. I'm going to live stream every single day until Christmas. But let's see, we got Hunter, Ridley, Hunter, Ridley, Ridley, Hunter, 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 Ridley. Both must start. How, are you taking out Nico Collins or Mike Evans? Hunter, Hunter, Ridley, Hunter, Ridley, Ridley, Hunter, Hunter, Ridley, Ridley, Ridley. For me, I'm going to go Ridley. I'm going to play it safe. I always lean with the side with these rookies. And also, I mean, we kind of said it with Pickens on the new team last night. It's like, you can wait to see it before you believe it. I know, like, if you're making a YouTube video, maybe it seems like you get more clout if you come out and you make a call of like, oh my gosh, this rookie, you have to jam him in week one. I'm not trying to get clout here on YouTube. If anything, I'm trying to just make sure that we can play it safe. And if Travis Hunter crushes week one, maybe I look like an idiot for saying to bench him. But then we know we can be excited to start him weeks 2 through 16. There's a long season. I'm going to go with Ridley. Okay. And yeah, we do not need the clout for trying to tell you to jam in rookies that we don't know if they're going to be. I love the ceiling of them. That's why I went out there, made videos saying like, hey, you should probably draft this guy, trade for this guy, starting in week one stuff. But it looks like we hit 200 likes on the stream. So go down there and drop your flockfantasy.com username is in the chat, and we will pick a couple of y'all to give some free questions to. Caleb Williams here, quarterback, and then down in the flex between Rome, Jennings, Reed. I'm going to go with Rome. I'm going to play him over RJ Harvey and Caleb Johnson as well. Really don't want anything to do with these running backs week one. Rome, super shaky start, but Jennings, missed training camp. Jaden Reed, injured. So kind of easy. Now, Ellie coming through, trading DJ Moore for RJ Harvey. I'd rather have DJ Moore. You can see that in my rankings right now. But with that being said, your running back room's garbage. Right now, our running back room, we have Bucky Irving, solid. And beyond that, we have JCM, Caleb Johnson, Trey Benson, Tank Bigsby. So like week one, we're starting what? Tank Bigsby? We go over to wide receiver. We have Chase, Sutton, Ladd, Stephon Diggs. What's the bigger points per game drop-off that you're going to see? Is it from DJ Moore to Stephon Diggs in your flex spot? Or is it RJ Harvey to Tank Bigsby at running back 2? I don't know. Again, in a vacuum, I would say you're losing this deal when it comes to value. I understand if you were to want to go through and make that deal, though. Now, let me pick some winners in the chat real quick. And as I pull that up, let me stall by reminding you that week one is the biggest week of the entire year for Underdog promos. If you're already on Underdog, you should have that 50% profit boost token in your account for the game tonight. And there'll be the 100% profit boost token that drops tomorrow for the games on Sunday. If you needed help figuring out what we're going with tonight, this is what I decided to do with my 50% profit boost token. I went lower on Kelsey, 50.5 receiving yards, higher on Hampton at 9.85 fantasy points, and lower on Mahomes at 19.45. It's about $50 to win about $400. If you're not already on Underdog, you can find the link in the description and live chat. And if you use code FLOCK when you sign up, you'll get $50 added to your account after you play your first 5. Also, you will get an additional $10 added to your account if you got the season pass on flockfantasy.com. Just fill out the Google form on the site. So in that way, you deposit $10, you play 5, and then you have, $70 in your account. Now, let's see. We got Jackson M. Clark. Let's see if I can find you on the site. If so, we'll give you the first free few questions, and then we'll set some other people up after this. I cannot see you. I don't know if you use the different code on flockfantasy.com. I can only see the people who use code FLOCK on the site. Lunchbox, can't find you either. Let's see if we got I Love Turkey out here. I Love Turkey, found you and just sent you over some free questions. Thanks for always hanging out with us in the stream. And we got our next person for a free question being Trophy Stealer. Let me see if I can find you on the site. Gotcha. Just sent you over those free questions. So, again, thanks for hanging out with us in the live stream. And we'll give out some more free questions when we hit 300 likes. Now, our next question is going to be from, who is this? TJ. In the flex, we could put in Cortland Sutton, Garrett Wilson, Igbuka. I think Sutton would be the best play for us, but am I going to switch out Tyreek, Higgins, or Jefferson for Sutton now? So reality of the situation is I think you're actually just kind of leaving this as is. Now, Brett Baker says, what's more important, quarterback or tight end? So, difficult question. I think it is kind of going to be up to your specific league. I would say an elite quarterback and an elite tight end does matter a lot. If this truly is a league where you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex, which looks like how you filled out the settings when you submitted this. Now, I would look to see what is on the waiver wire. What would you say is a better position to pick up off waivers in your specific league between quarterback or tight end? And I think you take a look at that, figure it out, go with the other side, because this is a very fair deal. I would rather have Brock Bowers over Josh Allen in a vacuum. Like, I have Josh Allen in the Flock League. I would trade him for Brock Bowers in a heartbeat. But I would also rather have Tyler Warren over Caleb Williams. Now, in my specific league, like, I also have TJ Hawkinson, right? So if the Brock Bowers owner had like Brock Bowers and Caleb, I personally would trade Josh Allen and TJ Hawkinson to get to Bowers. But I think it is a personal preference. I think it is going to be up to you. It's going to be what's available to you on the waiver wire as the value over replacement between quarterback or tight end. So honestly, I'd be fine with either deal. For me personally, I would rather have the Bowers side with my specific team, with my specific league, but I think that is very much a personal preference. Jay Allison says, should I do this trade or try to get a decent wide receiver 2 or equivalent off waiver wires? So let's see this. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Afterwards, we'd have Bijan Bucky. Wide receiver. Oh, yeah, no. Your wide receiver room's garbage. Let's see what's available on the waiver wire right now. You can get Joe Mixon off the waiver wire for free. Yeah, so make this deal and go pick up Joe Mixon. I would trade Chuba Charbonnet for T against Joe Mixon kind of easily. Now, Cosmo with our next question. Running back, this is Swift, Harvey, Jalen Warren, Bigsby. I'm going to go with DeAndre Swift. I think long-term, you probably rather have Harvey once he does establish himself as the starting running back in Denver. But we just have no idea when that is going to happen. Now, Shunt with our next question. Here we need to get somebody in from the flex. We have Andrews as probably the best potential flex play if we were to put somebody in. Would I start Andrews over Tyreek, Dobbins, Worthy? No. However, I think I probably don't get me wrong, David Njoku is set up to crush this week. You have Flacco. You have the best matchup you could possibly ask for going up against Cincy. Completely understand wanting to build around David. I mean, build your lineup around David Njoku. Completely understand it. But Andrews, you have the highest over-under of any game, and you have no Isaiah Likely. I think I would go Andrews over Njoku this week. That'd be only a swap that I missed. Oh my gosh. CMC is toast. Underdog update on CMC. I may have to. Yeah, CMC did not practice with the team. I'm going to dunk on Sal real quick. Oh, this is crazy. So here's my entire timeline. It's just McCaffrey didn't practice with the team on Monday. Running back McCaffrey will officially be questionable for Sunday's game in Seattle. McCaffrey did not participate in today's practice. Dear God. Iceberg won a bag, says he picked up Brian Robinson in 2 leagues last night. This is tough. Well, good for me, I guess, in the Flock League. Let me get in a clip real quick. Well. It looks like McCaffrey officially does not practice with the team on Friday. So our plan or our mission for Mr. O, Johnny O, Pal, looks like it worked out. Looks like we have successfully taken out the competition, and we are on our path to being 1-0, and Sal is on his path to eating at Denny's. All right, let me send this in. This is God dang. I'm sorry. I know that I'm ignoring y'all right now, but this is like the craziest possible outcome. That we could have had in fantasy football this year, no? McCaffrey, like us all convinced, and including myself, I ranked McCaffrey as a round 1 pick. I drafted him a bunch of underdog drafts. Don't get me wrong. I was not smart enough to tell people like, hey, do not draft McCaffrey. Trust me. At this point, I wish I was. But I'm not. I mean, I wasn't. So I'm not trying to sit here and say like, oh, we're all dumb for not knowing. Maybe I am dumb for not knowing, but the craziest potential outcome of like this year is we all convinced ourselves that McCaffrey was still a good pick in round 1 despite the injury history. I think we're going to probably do another Flock League video from this. Ooh, yeah, I think we may have to do like an emergency Flock League video. Yeah, McCaffrey is cooked. Yeah, let me figure out what is the status on Grindo. Because I initially thought that they just traded for Brian Robinson because of the Isaac Grindo stuff. Isaac says Grindo is not hurt. Robert says B-Rob or Grindo. I'd rather have B-Rob over Grindo. Sorry, let me try to figure out what's going on here. This is, like I said, this is big. I may have to full screen this. Dear God. We'll get back to questions in 1 second, but let's figure out where do we need to put Brian Robinson if he's going to... If he is the backup, like who is it? It's like, is Brian Robinson that much worse of a running back than Jordan Mason? Or Jordan Mason was an auto start at the beginning of last year? Like, even Isaac Grindo was an auto start when you had no Jordan Mason. Yeah. So what is interesting is right after they traded for Brian Robinson, they named him as the RB2. So I would say that Grindo, like, is Brian Robinson going to play though? Has he? I'm assuming he's been long with the team long enough where he's good to go for this week. No. So this is from 49ers and NFL News Talk 24. This is just okay. I don't want to be an ass. But this is from somebody who I have no idea who they are, and they probably have no credibility whatsoever. But I'm going to show it on the stream anyway because what the hell? I am a rando and I don't have credibility either. So we're all the same. This account, 49ers Sports Talks, is running backs Brian Robinson and Isaac Grindo will both be ready to share the load on Sunday versus the Seahawks, per head coach Kyle Shanahan. They'll be ready if CMC misses the game. Let me see if I can find Shanahan talking about the backup situation here. Kyle. Has he given his press conference today? Yeah, the stuff's dropping right now. I think he's talking right now. Okay. I didn't know arthritis and tendonitis were different. That's just my lack of education on being a doctor. But no, he just... I don't know if you could hear that, but he said, I didn't know arthritis and tendonitis were different. I guess that's just my lack of education, not being a doctor. He's just questionable with the calf. Kyle Shanahan said last year CMC could start week 1, and then he missed almost the entire year. This week he says, quote unquote, I am not saying anything on Christian guys, with a smirk. This is exactly what Kyle wants with the Christian situation. Was he able to do any team drills yet? Let me see if I can figure out how to share my audio with y'all here. I think I should be able to. I figured this out before. Okay. If this is super loud, don't scream at me again. I don't exactly know how to stream. Try to turn this down if that will. Maybe we'll start halfway.
Yeah, you're all right.
Let me know if y'all can hear this.
Did not practice. I was looking at the wrong box.
Was he able to do any team drills yesterday, Kyle, or what happened during practice yesterday with him?
Yeah, he did a limited amount of stuff in practice yesterday.
What's your level of concern with his physical condition and his ability to play on Sunday?
It's questionable. Questionable concern. I'm not going to say anything about Christian, guys, or any of our players' injuries.
Is it fair to say, I mean, because he wasn't on the injury report Wednesday, that this is something that occurred yesterday?
Yeah, it came up yesterday.
Does Brian Robinson have a full?
Yeah, you're all right.
Why did they cut it off there? They were asking about Brian Robinson. Can I find where he said that? Can I just find the full thing?
With his physical condition and his ability to play on Sunday. Is it fair to say, I mean, because he wasn't on the injury report?
Okay. That's getting cut off there. And my computer sounds like it's going to literally explode. What is going on? I need to find that Kyle Shanahan, Brian Robinson quote. Let me search Kyle Shanahan, Brian Robinson. Okay. Let's hit latest. So, yeah, I can't see anything other than that, like, one quote that we got from the Niners account saying that they would both be ready. Come on, you can come in here. All right, well, we already had moved him down a bit in our rankings, but that question we had earlier, somebody asking that if they should trade Travis Etienne for Brian Robinson, 100%. You know, we need to move up now as well. If this is that serious, not only, like, we already moved up Brian Robinson last night, but you probably need to go through and you probably need to move up as well Isaac Garindo. Garindo should be rosterable. Because while I would sit here and I would expect that the backup running back is Brian Robinson, maybe we're wrong. Like, at this point, if I had Will Shipley, I would drop him for Isaac Garindo. I would drop Najee for him. I'd drop Ollie Gordon. I'd drop Tyler Algier. I'd drop Jaden Blue. Let me move Jaden Blue behind Najee. Najee needs to move up now that Najee's good to go. I would drop Spears for him if he wasn't on the IR. I'll put Isaac Garindo about RB 41. I think I'd probably rather have Jerome Ford for him. So again, we don't know if McCaffrey's even missing yet. This is just kind of speculation. I have Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt in the Flock League. I do not think I would trade Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt for Brian Robinson yet. Yeah, the editor just texted me that he'll put together a CMC video. I mean, a Flock League video with the CMC updates. Let me text Sal to get some clips in. So here, spam the chat real quick. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have Brian Robinson or would you rather have Ja'Cory Cross-Merritt? Like, am I just holding on to my guy here? And dear God, my computer is freaking frying. Let me figure out what windows are open. How many windows do I have open? We got Brian Robinson, B-Rob, JCM, B-Rob, 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 JCM, B-Rob. Josh definitely dropped Justice Hill for Garindo. B-Rob, JCM, not sure. So it looks like we have that ranking somewhat in the right place where we have Brian Robinson at 32. If this could age so poorly. But for me right now with my team in the Flock League, you offer me McCaffrey for Josh Jacobs, I'm rejecting it. I think I would rather have Josh Jacobs over McCaffrey. I may be moving McCaffrey down to like RB11. I think McCaffrey's going to be right in line with like, and let me move this tier up. I think he's going to be in the same tier now for me as Kyron, Hampton, James Cook, Kamara, Trevion. Like this tier of Jacobs, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, I think I would rather have all these running backs over CMC. And keep in mind, before this, I had CMC ranked at 4, which it seems crazy to, before we even have McCaffrey ruled out, right? Well, McCaffrey is still just questionable for this game. For us to move McCaffrey from RB4 to RB11, drop him 2 tiers. I'm going to sit on this, and I will continue to update the rankings, obviously up until kickoff, especially as we get more news. But I think I have to go through and make the swap. And it looks like I just went over to the My Teams page on flockfantasy.com to see the Flock League. And it looks like the dev team has jumped up in the power rankings because they get the Brian Robinson bump. Let me see what it is based off my rankings, which are the most updated now. Sal is now dead last in the My Teams page according to my rankings, which obviously they are subjective. They are my rankings. But yeah, moving his first round pick now to somebody who would be ranked more so at the 2-3 turn. Dear God. But my rankings are updated again. If y'all wanted to see them, just go over. And y'all should actually see the new rankings page this weekend. I know we keep on teasing it, but it's going to be very, very soon. I want to say today, but I can't be 100% certain. But you can just see it on the old rankings page. Just hit Sort Creator, Sort by Mason Dodd. You can see all my rankings. But let me give y'all a couple free questions for sticking with me through my little rambling, trying to figure out what we are going to do here. And so drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And as I wait for y'all to do so, I will remind you that if you wanted to go ahead and have some fun on Underdog this weekend, it is the best time to do so because week 1 is when they always drop the biggest promos. You have a 50% profit boost token tonight, which I used for this pick'em pack where I'm going to be going Kelsey for lower than 50.5 receiving yards, Amari and Hampton for higher than 9.85 fantasy points, and Patrick Mahomes for lower than 19.45 fantasy points. That is a $50 entry for about a $400 payout. And again, that is with us using our 50% profit boost token. There is also a 100% profit boost token that drops tomorrow for the Sunday slate. So if you're already on Underdog, I would highly recommend taking advantage of those promo tokens. If you're not already on Underdog, you would actually get an additional promo, and that is when you sign up with code FLOCK, you will get $50 added in your account after you play your first 5. Also, if you got the season pass on flockfantasy.com, fill out the Google form on the guides page, and then there you will get an extra $10 added in your account. So essentially, you deposit $10 on Underdog, you play 5, and you have $70 in your account to take advantage of those promos with. It's by far and away the best time to get on. We got the link in the description and comment section. But let's go through. Let's pick some random people. We got Iceberg won a bag. Let me send over some free questions to you, and we'll pick somebody else as well. Iceberg, I can't see you on the site, my friend. I'm sorry. I got Iceberg Beats, but not Iceberg won a bag. I don't know if you use code FLOCK. Let's go OG Bradford. I believe is actually an OG member of the Flock here. So let me send some of these free questions over to you. Appreciate you sticking with me for so long, my guy. And let's see if we can find somebody else in the chat. Kind of want to give a couple people out questions. We got Namora or something along those lines, but I can type it in and see if anything pops up, even if I can't read it. All right, just found you. It looks like you got the season pass, so you should already have some free vouchers in your account, but be super happy to send you over some additional ones. And those are in your account now. So I know we just took a big detour to talk CMC, but realistically, we need to go through and we need to get back to these questions because I do not want to miss out on them. And maybe we'll have some McCaffrey trade questions, or maybe we'll have some Brian Robinson start set questions. Okay, so let's move this over. Jared Finch. I guess we're choosing between Amari and Hampton and Tet. I'm not that worried about Najee. Again, I'm going with Hampton to have at least 9.85 fantasy points on Underdog tonight. But Tet, you have no hesitation with whatsoever here. No Adam Thielen, no Jalen Coker. Phenomenal matchup against the Panthers. Great game environment. I'm going to very easily go ahead and take Tet, to be honest. Okay. Now let's move this over to our next one. CS Young. This is Justin Fields, Jahmyr Gibbs versus Josh Allen and Devon Achane. Ooh, this is an interesting question. Fields is effectively a 0. So would we rather have Gibbs or Allen and Achane? I'd rather have Allen and Achane personally. Especially in your league format, those elite quarterbacks are going to absolutely dominate. Now, Melvin with our next question. Here we need a flex between Pacheco, Waddle. That's about it. I wouldn't consider anybody else here. Maybe you go Debo, but in a full PPR format, I think I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Waddle. Now, let's move this over to our next one. And let's refresh this page. Big deal. I understand that Garindo's been dealing with a shoulder injury. I know he was dealing with that in training camp. The question is he good to go now? But Dylan Roth with our next question. Here we got to fill out a starting lineup. Quarterback, we have Drake May. Running back, Chuba. 14-team format, so we only got to start one RB. Then we're going to go Stefan. Actually, no, Nico Collins is the auto start at wide receiver. We have Bowers at tight ends. And then for the flex, I would go ahead. Where do you go, Downs, or are we going to go Diggs here? Downs completely removed off the injury report. Has a great matchup against Miami as well. I think you go Diggs. So it looks like the Patriots defense actually has some injuries this week, which may throw them into being a little bit more pass happy. And also you have Drake May as your starter. Okay. Now, Jay Nord coming out with our next question. Here for the flex, Jonathan. Oh, you already have Taylor in, sorry. We have Brian Robinson as a consideration. For me, I don't think we can wait to get the Brian Robinson news. I think you just got to play Xavier Worthy. Even if CMC were to miss, I don't necessarily know if like Brian Robinson is an auto lock. He may split the backfield with Garindo. He would be my bet to lead it. But we don't even know for sure if McCaffrey's going to be missing at this point. Now, moving over to our next question. We got D. Nickel here for the flex. Bigsby, Hollywood, Mims are really our only plays. I guess Jalen Noel's a little more interesting now that you have no Christian Kirk, but realistically, I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to take Tank Bigsby. They are calling him co-starters with Travis Etienne, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if he ends up leading this backfield in touches. I'd still probably rather have Travis Etienne because I think Etienne would be the more capable receiving back, but I think you can go Bigsby here. Now, Big D with our next question. Here at wide receiver, we're going to go Michael Pittman and a good matchup. And then for the flex, you have no Kirk, you have no Godwin, you have no Addison, you have no Rice, so your options are gross. I realistically would probably play to Mario Douglas here in a full PPR format. Am I excited about it? No, but Caleb Johnson looks like he's just going to be the straight up backup back. And we don't know what the roles are going to be for Dameon Pierce, Dylan Sampson, and Trey Benson. So I think we go Douglas. Okay, now Rat Legs with our next question. This is, I don't know if this is a joke. Trading JSN, Igbuka, Rome, Pittman for Brian Robinson. If Brian Robinson was ruled out, if CMC was ruled out for the year today, I would probably still rather have JSN over Brian Robinson. So I'm assuming this is a joke here, but can never be sure. Now, Eli Oken, something along those lines. We're going to go with Bigsby over JCM, Caleb, and Trey Benson. I really hope JCM takes over. And then for the flex, DJ Moore is going to be the very easy play over those running backs. Like I just can't play JCM or Caleb Johnson week one until we actually see him. Vertigod with our next trade. This is Montgomery, Devontae versus Jacobs. Now, this is a spot where the depth matters a little bit more in your league settings. But frankly, the value's too good to even bother looking at your team or to bother even taking into consideration your league settings. Josh Jacobs is just the very easy play over Montgomery and Devontae Adams. You would need like Jahmyr Gibbs injured to consider the Montgomery side. Aiden says, hey, Mason, you finished my team review 30 minutes before the CMC news. Grab B-Rob, not Benson. What do we do now? So I am sorry, my friend. So now, I mean, at least if you got Brian Robinson off the waiver wire, you have some insurance here. Let me see what we have when it comes to wide receiver. We have Rome and Matthew Golden. So for now, I think you just play whichever running back is going to be the starting back for the Niners. But there is a world in which instead of, I'm sure what I told you looking at your team is maybe to try to go and trade for the elite quarterback. But if McCaffrey is out and Brian Robinson splits this backfield with Isaac Grindo for whatever reason, in that scenario, you potentially may have to actually trade one of your depth receivers for some running back help. But obviously we should get some more CMC news sooner. Now, Nocturnal Wallaby. This is Goff, Tracy versus Bo Nix and Jawan Jennings. Tracy, Jennings, I probably need to flip that in my rankings because right now I have them ranked back-to-back with Jennings in the lead. But after looking at the majority of your teams and seeing how things are situated for the majority of your rosters, I think the majority of y'all should rather have Tracy over Jennings. So let me flip that. I do think that they're right next to each other, but I think Tracy just needs to move up my rankings. So we moved Tracy up to 80 overall. But I would very clearly rather have Bo Nix over Goff if it's a 4-point passing touchdown format. And it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So the running back wide receiver depth is probably not going to matter much anyway. Now, Kings with our next question. This is Brees and Bowers versus Kenneth Walker and Puka. Give me Puka over Bowers. Give me Walker over Brees. So I really like the elite tight end in your format specifically, but definitely the Puka Nacua side is the value winner. Now, XFL 9000. Here we need a flex between JMO, Metcalf, and Pearsall. That's really the only group of guys that we can consider. So if I was looking at doing something here, I'm probably going to go DK Metcalf. Like, I don't love the game environment. It should be the lowest scoring game of the week. If you wanted to pivot to somebody else, it would be JMO, but it's not like we have that good of a projection for the Lions offense either. Now, Schenko coming through. This is JCM versus Brian Robinson in a third in Dynasty. I need to update my Dynasty rankings now that I think about it. Let me pull these up. I know that obviously this doesn't apply to the majority of y'all in here, but there are a lot of people on the site that need these Dynasty ranks. At this point, I'd rather have RJ Harvey over McCaffrey in Dynasty. I'd rather have Kenneth Walker over him. So McCaffrey has to slide, and obviously we have to move Brian Robinson back up in Dynasty. I'd rather have Brian Robinson over ETN. I'd rather have him over Jordan Mason. I'd rather have him over Trey Benson in Dynasty. Hell, I may even rather have him over Aaron Jones. I'm going to have JCM and Brian Robinson ranked at 32 and 33 in Dynasty. I mean, RB 32 and RB 33. Okay, now everybody is saying we got more CMC news. So did I just update my rankings to have to move them back? Did I just make a massive fool of myself? What is going on? Okay, never mind. We get a CMC report now that says McCaffrey plans on playing week 1, said he feels great. Dear, okay. What the hell is happening? Now I maybe got to cancel the Flock League video we're going to do tomorrow. And I have to go right back and maybe update our rankings again. I'm not even going to hit submit on those Dynasty rankings updates. This is just, I feel like a clown. I think I would still very clearly rather have Genty, Derrick Henry, Achane over McCaffrey. There's enough smoke here for me to prefer Genty, Henry, Achane. But now after this, I may want to pivot and I may want to say, like, if Sal offered me McCaffrey for Jacobs today, I'd probably take McCaffrey. So, Chef says 10 minutes from now, there'll be more news and you'll drop CMC again. Possibly. I'm going to stop trying to make a fool out of myself here. I'm going to put McCaffrey at 7. Where do we have Brian Robinson? At 32, seems safe. Isaac Rindo, 51, seems safe. So, we're going to leave this as is for now. Not going to update the Dynasty ranks. And, God, this is stressful. We got people telling us to watch the interview. Okay, let me see if we can find the interview. Okay. Where is this Christian McCaffrey interview? And then I figured out how to share my audio with you all, so we should be able to pull this on the screen too. Did it just come out? Here's the guy that convinced me that Trey Lance was good.
About Christian McCaffrey, he did not participate in today's walkthrough, not a practice, a walkthrough. He's questionable for this Sunday's game against the Seahawks. When asked for any further information, Kyle Shanahan wouldn't give it. You'd figure if there was some hope, some good news, he would want to provide that to the fans. But all he said is, I'm not talking about injuries. He's questionable. My concern is questionable. He did confirm that Christian McCaffrey injured himself during practice yesterday, which is troubling. I mean, how could it not be serious if he has to take himself out of practice with an injury that kept him out all of last year? And how can it not be troubling when he's essentially been healthy he hasn't had any issues with his Achilles in 10 months? He was cleared in October last year, played, hurt his PCL, but that wasn't related to the Achilles. He's had all this rest. When is he ever going to be more rested and healthy than now? He was supposed to be the old Christian. That's what all kind of people said. But it seems like whenever he tries to ramp it up, put it into fifth gear, something like this happens. It doesn't seem like he really trusts his calves or Achilles anymore. It seems like he's expecting one of them or both of them to go. And it doesn't seem like he has any plans of letting that happen. Some guys go out on their sword and say, so be it, I'll tear an Achilles from my team. I don't think Christian's going to do that. I think Christian's going to protect himself. Maybe I would too. But maybe the Niners don't know what's going to. I think this is all up to Christian. We'll see what he decides to do. But if he couldn't even participate in a walkthrough on a Friday, I don't see him actually playing in a football game on Sunday. Although I have no inside information. We'll see what Christian decides to do. I'm just guessing that he won't play. And if he doesn't play, the Niners won't win. And if he's not good this year, the Niners won't be good this year. You know why? You know how I know that? Because I watched him last year. That was the story of them last year. Maybe Robert Saleh and a bunch of rookies will change that this year, but probably not. When people said they're probably going to win 10 games at least, they were thinking Christian's going to be out there. Christian's played. He hasn't missed a game. He hasn't missed a practice all offseason. David Lombardi says he ran 25 miles an hour, 10 wins. I thought it. I believe in David. But now I'm starting to question David Lombardi. Does he really tell the truth, or is he just telling me what I want to hear as a diehard 49er fan? I just begin to wonder.
Okay, we got Noah saying Mason watched the Vic video from Underdog. Is it on the Underdog NFL account? Let's see if I can find it. Did they? Okay, yeah.
Serious and play that. Like I said, I feel great about where I'm at. Unfortunately, you have an injury history that I have. You know, sometimes when you don't practice, things get blown out of proportion. But like I said, I feel great.
Is it not? Does it feel different than it felt?
Side note, God dang, McCaffrey's a good-looking dude. I wish I had that hairline. I wish I could have. God dang. This is how I wish I looked.
Last summer.
Yeah, and I've forgotten about last year. I forgot about the year before that, You know, I'm focused on this week and playing Seattle on Sunday. Christian, just kind of thing in practice where you felt something and you just want to be real cautious with it? Is that kind of what happened? Yeah, I'm not supposed to go into anything that happened, but as I said, I felt like it was a smart thing to do to not finish the practice because I've been there before and I've been my own worst enemy in situations like that. And I'm just proud of myself for not doing that again. And, like I said, I went through a whole training camp, feel great where I'm at.
The artificial turf is not kindness on players' lower bodies. Is that going to factor into the decision the next 2 weeks also?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, and play on it once every, twice in 14 days. Should be all right.
What are people saying on this? I just, what are people saying about, let me go to this account. He did essentially say the same thing a year and did not play the opener, so stay tuned on Sunday. This is funny. Oh, that's Dill Picks too. Dill Picks auditioned to be in the Flock League. That's hilarious. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna try my best. I'll when we get an update in 5 minutes, I'll let you know what it is. For now, I'm moving McCaffrey back into the same tier as Jacobs, Taylor, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving. Up to you on who you want there. I would definitely prefer Achane. I would definitely prefer Genty. I would definitely prefer Derrick Henry over him, though. Okay. Now, anyway, based off that news report, I'm going to go JCM over Brian Robinson in a third in Dynasty. And we got to log out, log back in, dear God, so we can keep sending these. And if you haven't already, go down there, hit that like button. Every 100 likes we hit, we give away some free questions for people hanging out with us in the chat. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We live stream every single day. I've not missed a day of live streaming. God knows how long. And we are going to be live streaming every day until Christmas as well. Okay. Now let's move this back to some regular scheduled programming. Shank, long way to tell you, we're going to go JCM. Now, Vic, this is Tank Bigsby or Javonte Williams. After last night's game, very easily Javonte for me. Very easily. Like, Javonte looks like he has the starting job on lock. I mean, Jaden Blue was a healthy scratch. I know some people were saying, like, oh, once Jaden Blue gets in, sell Javonte. It's not like Jaden Blue is a special prospect by any stretch of the imagination. Now, Chase Hobson with our next question. For the flex, we're going to go ahead and we are going to be playing Josh Downs. Actually, do we want to go Downs over Ridley even if Ridley has a tough matchup? Probably not. Probably go Ridley and Olave, but I would consider getting Josh Downs in there. Now, Z Leon, this is Brees Judy versus James Conner. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So, like, Jerry Judy's never really going to make an impact on your team here. 9 times out of 10, it's give me the best player. I don't think, like, James Conner long-term is that much of a better play than Brees. So, if you're getting Judy here for free, I'd be fine taking Judy, even if he's not that valuable in your league. Now, JB Goated here is trading Kyron, Rasheed Jonnu versus Pollard, Higgins, Warren. Kyron versus Higgins, give me Kyron. Rasheed versus Pollard, up to you. Jonnu versus Tyler Warren. Jonnu's a 0. Tyler Warren's exciting. I'm probably going to go ahead and take the Tyler Warren side of this, but it's not a super easy call. Now, Diego with our next question. Here, I'm going to go Kyron easily at running back over Trevion this week. Wide receiver, JSN is an auto start, and Tet will be an auto start as well for you in the flex spot. Like, again, I stand by. I think if you look at the projections, Tet is the one rookie wide receiver that is an auto start. A lot of rookie wide receivers are exciting, but Tet is the guy that is an auto start. I think Tet gives you a high floor and ceiling combo, where the other rookie receivers maybe just be high ceiling. Now, Hino Carebro is trading JCM for Brian Robinson. I asked everybody in the chat this previously what they thought, and they said JCM. Or they split it 50-50. There's so much smoke here in San Francisco. I think that this is going to really just come down to you. I'm not going to have the right name. I have JCM ranked ahead of Brian Robinson as of today. But if you think McCaffrey's done, I mean, obviously Brian Robinson would be the play here. Now, Lil Florida with love. This is Pollard, Trevion. I'm going to go with Pollard this week. It's a really tough matchup, but you have no Tajay Spears, so you're going to get the guaranteed volume. If we're looking at Trevion Henderson, I think you have big play upside, but we don't know what the role of Ramondre Stevenson exactly is going to be. Now, Egansman with our next question. DJ Moore will be an easy play for me here in a full PPR format where we're not necessarily expecting Luther Burden, Loveland to have massive roles right out the gate. I think we'd play him over those guys like Tyrone Tracy. Now, Drippy with our next question. Running back, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to be playing. This is tough. I'm going to go Hampton and Brees. Obviously, Dobbins is in a much better offense. Brees is a much better running back. I think both guys lead committees. And then going over to the flexes, I think we're going to go with Matthew Golden and J.K. Dobbins. Actually, Golden versus Ricky Pearsall is going to be very tough now that you're in a spot where you have the Jaden Reed injury and Juwan Jennings fully good to go. So I want to tell you Golden. In reality, the smart play is probably Pearsall, but I think it's just going to come down to you on the receiver there. Now, Celerus says, I have CMC and wide receiver depth. Is it worth the value loss? No. Not in a league where you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. If I was looking at who I'd want to be trading for, like Brian Robinson, could we send Josh Downs for him instead? I think I'd still rather have Ridley over B-Rob for the time being. Maybe that changes. Now, Austin is trading Genti Igbuka for CMC, Tat, Rome. I would rather have Genti over CMC. I would rather have Tat over Igbuka, and you get Rome for free. Can y'all please let me know in the live chat right now, what side would you take? Would you rather have Ashton, Genti, and Igbuka, or would you rather have McCaffrey, Tat, and Rome? Genti and Igbuka, or McCaffrey, Tet, and Rome? We got CMC, Genti, CMC, Genti, CMC, 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 Genti, CMC, Genti, CMC, Genti, 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 CMC. I'm sorry, this is Genti. Genti, CMC, Genti, Genti, CMC. CMC, CMC, Genti, CMC, CMC. CMC, CMC, Genti, CMC. The fan out here is going to tell you CMC. I am going to be too scared myself to make a call there. I'm going to be a parrot of the live chat right now. Because the last thing that I want to do is go out here and tell you, yeah, trade your round 1 pick for McCaffrey right now. And then you come back and you absolutely hate me next week. So it's up to you. I've shared all the McCaffrey updates that we have in this live stream as of today, or as of 4:46 Eastern. I'm sure that we will get more news coming out 5 minutes from now, and then we'll change my answer. Now, Garrett says, which quarterback stack and tight end? Bears, Texans, Jags, Colts. I'm going to go with Lawrence this week in a great matchup. And then tight end, we're going to go Tyler Warren over Loveland. And I'm not too concerned about the stacking when it comes to just submitting our starting lineups. X-Men says, should I try to trade for a top quarterback, JC and Brian Robinson, now that CMC's hurt? I have Bo Nix. I don't know if you're saying, like, can we trade Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt and Brian Robinson with Bo Nix for a top quarterback? If that's the question, if you could take, like, that package of running backs, Bo Nix, and get to a top 4 quarterback of Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, you do it. Harry says, any idea when you'll be accepting team reviews again? I'm going to turn team reviews back on today. We just got to get through all these other questions. But I will be honest with you. And I hate to say this, I hate to do this, but it's just the only option I have at this point. I only have so much time in the day. The team reviews that we're going to be doing on flockfantasy.com going forward, like yesterday, we turned them on during the live stream and we got like 12 reviews submitted in 12 minutes. So how it's looking like right now with the team reviews on flockfantasy.com is they may only be open for like 30 minutes a day or so. Now, of course, maybe things change. Maybe everybody's just trying to get a team review right now, and then next week, nobody's going to want one. But with how it looks right now, like, I'm just going to turn them on when we have time in a live stream and go, if you want one, submit it within the next 10 minutes, and it's going to close then. Now, Z Leon says, B-Rob a lock if CMC's out, and who to flex. Crazy, man. Appreciate you, my friend. I would plan on Brees over B-Rob, even with those CMC, unless, like, they tell us, yeah, B-Rob's the unquestioned starter over Grindo. And then for the flex, I'll go DJ Moore here. I think you have just really strong options there in a 10-team, 2-wide receiver, 1 flex league, where you could see what the role looks like before you have to make any, like, dramatic plays. Now, D. Taylor says, Tyreek and Bowers versus Achane, Higgins, and Njoku. Bowers versus Achane, I'd rather have Achane slightly. Tyreek versus Higgins, I'd rather have Higgins slightly. So I'm going to go with Achane, T. Higgins, and David Njoku, to be honest with you. Now, DD4K, running back. If CMC plays, you go McCaffrey. If he misses, you pivot to RJ Harvey. And then we leave the flex plays exactly as is. But yeah, obviously, if CMC plays, we take him. And if not, we're pivoting over to RJ Harvey. I need to look up my exact exposure to McCaffrey on Underdog. Because I'm overweight Christian McCaffrey on Underdog. I didn't give him to the flock league. Kind of hoping he misses. Here's what would help me. Like, if I was just being the most selfish person that I possibly could. And generally, I am a very selfish person. But what would help me is if McCaffrey were to miss this week and then be good to go rest of season. I have McCaffrey in 9.7% of my drafts on Underdog. Obviously, I don't have him in the flock league. Let me sort this by entry fees, because the issue is I think I took him in some high stakes drafts. In terms of dollars invested into him, I actually have more Javonte Williams than I McCaffrey. That looks good, but they're next to each other. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. He's my 19th most invested into running back from a dollar spent perspective. Drew says, half PPR, 8th pick, double flex, hard choices in the flex. Zay Flowers, easy play. I think Egbuka, Pacheco isn't that easy. Let me see where I put him in my flex rankings this week. I do have Pacheco at 47, Egbuka at 46. We probably stand by that. My only hesitation is in a half PPR format. Obviously, the reception volume is not going to matter as much. Now, a Hogan with our next question. Quarterback, we're going to go with Bo Nix and Jordan Love. Daniel Jones is in a sneaky good spot, though. So is Flacco. But Daniel Jones gives you a little more rushing upside. So I'd go Daniel Jones over Flacco, personally. But we're not starting either. And then for the flex, this is a deep dynasty league, everyone, if you're wondering why it gets so gross. You may end up needing to play. It's a tight end premium format. If it's a tight end premium format, I'm going to go Loveland. If it's not, I'm going to go Jaden Higgins. Jaden Higgins does look slightly more intriguing considering the Kirk injury. ETC says drop Judkins and pick up Brian Robinson off the waiver wire. Yes, at this point, I would drop Quinshon Judkins and I would pick up Brian Robinson. Hogan says, go Vols. Want to do an underdog head-to-head draft again? Probably not right now, my guy. Maybe later in the year, but just super busy at the moment. But always appreciate you hanging out with us. So here, if we're looking at a running back to get in, it's going to really be down between, I guess, like if McCaffrey were to miss, I'm starting Brian Robinson over Tracy and Jalen Warren for sure. So obviously, we're going to have to wait and hopefully get more news with McCaffrey sooner rather than later. But if McCaffrey plays, then I'm going to go with Tracy over Jalen Warren. Both running backs will be in bad offenses. I would be a little more concerned about Caleb Johnson than I would be about Cam Scatterbo, though. Now, Zarbach says, who should I start at the flex after AJ's game last night? So we need an upside shot. So the floor play is probably going to be Dobbins, just given the guaranteed volume that you have with no Spears. But if we're going to go upside shot, I'm going Xavier Worthy. But obviously, Worthy's going to have less volume, so he will have a lower floor. Purdy Thing says, I have CMC and B-Rob on the bench. Is it also worth me getting Garindo on waivers for Samson or Tootin? Right now, I would not fault anybody that had McCaffrey with their last roster spot going out there and picking up Isaac Garindo. I think Brian Robinson's the most likely RB2 here. But Garindo probably is worth that roster spot. And if I was going to drop somebody, Dylan Sampson seems like a fine pivot to him. It's not something you need to do, though, if you have B-Rob. Now, B-Stain, this is Jacobs and Amarian versus Swift and Bijan. 2 wide receiver, 1. Actually, I can't even guarantee what the format is. Obviously, Bijan's the best player in this. I think you're up tiering from Jacobs to Bijan, down tiering from Hampton to Swift. Ultimately, it is call that's up to you. But I mean, if you look at the short-term projections that you have with like Amari and Hampton, I like Hampton a lot, but like on Underdog right now, they have Hampton higher or lower 9.85 fantasy points. Now, again, I'm taking the higher on that, but it's not a spot where like the median projection super high for Amari and Hampton. Maybe it is just the ceiling case. Now, spikes coming through. I'm going to assume that you need 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. I could be wrong. But I would go Derrick Henry, RB1, Amari and Hampton, RB2 out of this running back room. I would go Nico, wide receiver 1, Egbuka, wide receiver 2 out of this wide receiver room. And then for the flex, we're probably going to go ahead and take Ricky Pearsall. And then I'd play Loveland over Hunter Henry. Now, let me refresh this. Now, execution with our next one. Here for the flex, Zay Flowers is going to be a very easy play. I think you could play Brian Robinson over Zay Flowers if you were to end up getting no Christian McCaffrey, which honestly will have that clarity by that point because Zay Flowers is going to be playing in the Sunday night game. Now, Mother Flocka, happy to see you. Here, we need to start sit. We're looking at a flex. We have no Judkins. We have no Mixon. We have no Sanders. I mean, really the only we have no Ayuk. Really the only option that we have is Romer, Deebo Samuel. Obviously, Deebo's in a very high-scoring offense. Rome's projects a little bit worse. Both these wide receivers were garbage last year. I am probably going to go ahead and take Rome, though. If I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to one of these players, it's going to be the guy going into year 2. Rather than like Deebo was set up to absolutely crush last year. You could possibly make an argument that he was a letdown due to the pneumonia, but still. Now, Matt, with our next start sit, we're going to play Tet here. I'm going to play Tet over Harrison, over Egbuka, over Harvey. again, no hesitation whatsoever for me with Tet. Now, DLC with the start set. What the? Okay, never mind. Okay, this makes sense. I was going to tell you that you have the worst team that I have ever seen in my entire life. For us to be choosing between Isaac Garindo, Kyle Monangai, Hunter Renfrow, Tyquan Thornton, Isaiah Bond, Jalen Coker, Noah Gray, I was going to tell you that something went horribly wrong here, and I would have been embarrassed to show up to this live stream if I were you. However, the league analyzer is telling us that this is a 32-team league. So 32-team league, everybody's roster is going to be pretty bad, right? So if McCaffrey misses, Isaac Garindo is your easy play, even if you expect that Brian Robinson is the top dog there. Now, if McCaffrey plays, we're going to go Hunter Renfrow. But dear God, I can't imagine being in a 32-team league. Like Oler says, dude's an actual GM. Yeah, you're not playing fantasy football at that point. You're playing real football. Like having Josh Allen there, it's like Josh Allen drops 40 points. Can anybody, does the average lineup even score 40 points in a 32-team league? Now, fantasy football with our next question. This is Kyron, Judkins, Keenan versus Pacheco and Trevion. Kyron versus Trevion, easily give me Trevion. Judkins versus Pacheco, easily give me Pacheco. This is a 14-team league. So a 14-team format, I would actually take the depth here. You're trading one starter for two. If it was a shallower format, I'd say keep the best player with Kyron. Now, Prohibits Profit says, first time playing fantasy. Am I cooked? Appreciate you, my friend. Hopefully I can help you out here. Kamara, great running back 2 after Gibbs. Wide receiver, Tyreek Hill, solid wide receiver 1/2, as long as you're not looking at a lackluster running back room, which we have an elite quarterback. So we're good. And we have Mark Andrews at tight end. Great with no Isaiah Likely early. And then at the flex, I think we're probably going to go ahead. We're going to play Pacheco. So honestly, your team's really strong. I don't think you're cooked at all. Now, gifted from above, here at running back, we have Tracy, Pollard, Harvey. Easy spot for us to go with Pollard and Tracy. Harvey, good matchup. But at the same time, I think we assume that J.K. Dobbins is a starter in the backfield until we see otherwise. Now, the notorious one. This is, he wants Nico. Should I trade or what other options? This is Nico versus Trevion and Devontae Adams. This would be a horrendous deal. I understand that we have the McCaffrey injury, but it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So you have Brian Robinson here as the easy backfill. Don't panic to this extent. Don't do something like this. In a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 10-team league, 99% of the time, you're just going to want the best player. And the best player here by far is going to be Nico Collins. Mr. Slippy Fist says, which one to start? Are we going to go Sutton or Tet? I know most people watching this would probably take Sutton. And, you know, the majority of times I'm saying I want to be hesitant with the rookies. But Tet is in too good of a matchup against the Jags. I'm going to go with Tet. I think if you look at the over-under, that game's pretty high scoring as well. So Tet's going to be my lineup between the two. But both are in a good spot. The Notorious One, appreciate you. I know you've been with us forever, my guy. And let's move this back to any new ones we got coming in. This one is Ovo Phantoms. Here, wide receiver, Sutton over Pearsall and Jaden Higgins pretty easily. And then for the flex spots, we're going to go Kamara and DeAndre Swift very easily. And yeah, I don't think there could be anything that would change that lineup for us, to be honest. Now, Phil, happy to see this. As B-Rob's picked up, CMC owner here. My running back room is now Gibbs, Swift, JCM. Pretty screwed. Do we start Swift? Start Swift. Swift is a great RB2. Now, don't get me wrong. If we are looking at what we have with, like, Gibbs and a healthy CMC versus Gibbs and DeAndre Swift, it's a much, much worse running back room. But still, like, Gibbs and CMC in the Flock League, that running back room would be much better than the vast majority of what people are dealing with. So, I think it's probably an easy spot for us to just say, you're fine. Don't worry about it. And maybe if like Garindo's out there and you just have somebody that you can drop at the very bottom end, picking up Garindo, that could be something. But I wouldn't go out there and like panic trade for Brian Robinson or anything. But it looks like we caught up on all the basic questions. Let me turn back on the roster. No, I'm not going to turn on the roster views where you can buy them. I'm just adding them to here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 roster reviews to get through. I will after I get through 10 of them, I will turn them back on the site. If anybody wanted to buy one more, we'll have them on for about 10 minutes before we turn them back off. But because again, I want to get back to where we can answer these within 24 hours. Mark X Pluto says, drafted at 5, Hampton slid to round 4. Thoughts on how to improve? I'm open to any and all suggestions. I sent a review for my team in the other league. Appreciate the insight. Big fan. Appreciate all the hard work you do year round. Really appreciate you, my friend, and excited to dive into this. And number one thing is, we're the number one team in the league analyzer. This is a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So the last thing we want to be doing is building around wide receiver depth. And we have not done that. You have a phenomenal squad here. Looking at what we have at quarterback, not the best. We have Kyler. Kyler has been a top 12 quarterback every season of his NFL career. So it's not horrible, but obviously we don't have Allen, we don't have Lamar, we don't have Hurts, we don't have Daniel. So it's not like we can call this positional strength. Looking at what we have with RB, we have Jahmyr Gibbs, Amari Hampton, Tyrone Tracy. So we have 3 running backs that we can confidently start every week. We have Najee for the Oh, I forgot about this. I don't know if I showed you all this, but from now on, I should have been doing this all stream. Like, look at this. When I go, oh, Kyler, top 12 quarterback every year of his NFL career, I can pull that up now for you on flockfantasy.com. So can we get some W's in the chat for that? W for the developers in the chat. I completely forgot that I could pull that up for y'all now. But looking at running back, for us to have like Tracy RB3, we have the number 1 running back room in this league. Going over to receiver, we have Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy-Egbuka. We have Keon Coleman. We have Keenan Allen. You have a phenomenal team here. The number 1 running back room in the league. We're still rostering more running backs than wide receivers because it's a 2-team. Sorry, it's a league where you start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. We have the elite tight end as well. It's not like we have too much wide receiver value where we need to be doing something to try to trade with Kyler to get to an elite QB. Going over and looking at potential waiver wire pivots. If Achan's fully good to go, I think I'd probably drop Ollie Gordon in favor of Rachaad White. We've seen Rachaad White be an RB1 in fantasy before with no Bucky Irving. Outside of that, I don't know if there's anything else I can tell you. Wide receiver Deontay Thornton's pretty interesting. See what he does week 1. Let me send you over a bunch of questions, my guy. I am sorry. I don't have anything to tell you with this team. I feel really crappy about this. Let me send you a ton of free questions. I think you have the best team in the league. I think you sit on your hands. I don't see a single trade that makes sense in your league. I don't see a single waiver wire swap that makes sense in your league. So I think you leave this very easily as is. I really appreciate you, and I wish I was able to help you out a little bit more than I did. Now, our next team review is going to be coming out from Todd. Todd, appreciate you as well. And here, this is another team that doesn't need wide receiver depth because it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. And on top of that, and Marco says, that's my team, Mason. Thanks for the insight. Don't worry. I appreciate you, my guy. I wish I had more. But again, I think you have a phenomenal squad. I think you killed your league mates. But here with Todd, this is a league, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 10-team format. Wide receiver depth doesn't matter. I mean, we can get Jaden Higgins off the waiver wire here for free, right? So we're never going to be stressing about wide receiver depth. I think that there is a very clear trade that we can make with this team, though. Because we go through and we look at this. Quarterback, not great. While I understand, yes, Baker Mayfield last year was phenomenal, especially with the context that we had where you had both Godwin injured and Mike Evans missing a stretch of time. So This is pretty funny. I liked that. The Jacobs message was pretty funny. But anyway, I'm looking at it. We have a long record from Baker Mayfield. And I understand he's going to be a lot closer to 2024 than he will be to any other year in his NFL career. But Baker in 2023, 16 points per game. He was the QB 19 just 2 years ago. So to go through and like project Baker to say like, oh yeah, what we saw last year, while yes, it stands out from every other year of his NFL career where he's averaged 17, 14, 15, 12, 10, 16 fantasy points per game, it's always going to be 21.52. It's always going to be he's a top 5 quarterback. Probably not going to be the case, right? You're probably going to see some regression, especially with the offensive coordinator leaving. So I would like to upgrade from Baker if we can, and you have a very clear path in doing so. We have Breece Hall as an expendable asset. Breece Hall, 3 straight seasons averaging 15 points per game at least. But you have the new coaching staff telling us, yeah, they're going to go through and they are going to be turning this more into a running back by committee. And this offense projects to be one of the worst in the league. And they just had a significant injury to their offensive line. So if I were looking at this, my play would be, you're phenomenal with the double anchor running backs of Bijan Genti. Is there any way we can sell the skill positional depth of Breece Hall or Trevion Henderson? My thought process is it may be easier to sell Breece Hall depending on your league mates. But if you could sell like Trevion and Baker or Breece and Baker and hell, throw in Calvin Ridley, who cares? It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. If you could go like Trevion Henderson, Calvin Ridley, and Baker Mayfield to get to Josh Allen, to get to Lamar Jackson, to get to Jaden Daniels, to get to Jalen Hurts, I think it'd make a lot of sense for you. In terms of what we could do with waiver wire pivots, depending on what you see with the Chargers backfield tonight, I wouldn't fault you if you wanted to cut Najee Harris and pick up Quinshon Judkins off waivers. If the teams with the top 4 quarterbacks have no interest in trading one of them away, then the alternative would be we're going to try to trade for an elite tight end. Is there a world in which we could sell Breece and Tyler Warren and get George Kittle? Breece and Tyler Warren for McBride. Trevion and Tyler Warren for Bowers. And again, similar to the other deal, we are very much willing to include Calvin Ridley in that trade. Or Stephon Diggs, whoever they would rather have. Doesn't matter. So I think your team is incredible. When you just look at the league analyzer, we can see that there are 2 teams that are far and away better than everybody else. I think because you are so strong, you very easily can trade for the elite quarterback, very easily can trade for the elite tight ends. I think you go for one of them. You have 7 different trades that we can send out there as offers. And then let me make sure that we send you over some of those free vouchers as well. But those vouchers have hit your account. And lastly, depending on what we get from Najee Harris tonight, I would consider cutting Najee and picking up Quinshon Judkins. But really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Noah says, Mason CMC's line went from 110 all-purpose to now 103, but he's back on books from not. What do you think? Let me pull up what he's on Underdog. Let me see the Underdog picks. So these are the picks for the games tonight. I guess I'm an idiot because look at this. What I did is I took Kelsey to have fewer than 50.5 receiving yards. And Kelsey's now up to higher, lower 51.5. So that's embarrassing. McCaffrey on Underdog specifically, yeah, is at 103.5 total yards. It seems like a spot to hit the lower, but I'm an idiot. I have no idea. So, yeah, I'm going to stay away from McCaffrey myself. Again, what I have for my Underdog picks for tonight And the main reason I'm going to be showing y'all picks every single day this week is because this is the week they're doing all the big promos. So I myself, I'm getting in all my underdog picks this week, and I'm making sure I take advantage of the promo every day. And the promo today is they dropped a 50% profit boost token. So what I did is I went Kelsey lower than 50.5 receiving yards. That looks like you can actually take Kelsey lower than 51.5 now. Amari and Hampton higher than 9.85 fantasy points. Patrick Mahomes lower than 19.45 fantasy points. And that is a $50 entry to win about $400. Now, if you wanted to tell me on that, or if you wanted to go check out the Underdog CMC pick'em, whatever you want, you can find the link to Underdog Fantasy in the description, comment section, live chat. If you use code FLOCK, you're going to be getting a 50%, the Olds promo was you got a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000, but this one, in my opinion, is much, much better. This one you get $50 added to your account after you play your first 5. And if you got the season pass on flockfantasy.com, go fill out the Google form. And if so, you'll get an extra $10 added into your Underdog account. So effectively, deposit $10, play 5, and then have $70 in your account that you can go through and you can take advantage of those promos with. I'll keep y'all posted on what promo we look at for tomorrow night, or for Sunday night, but this is what I'm going for right now. Now, let's move this over to our next team. And again, that link's in the description, live chat, and it's code FLOCK. Our next team's going to be Chrism. It says 12-team double flex 4-player keeper league. So keeper league, we're going to expect that it's a little bit unbalanced with the values, not as much as a dynasty league, but we're not expecting all teams to be relatively equal before the season starts. Need some advice on making this team stronger. We kept Allen, Brees, London, Evans, drafted the rest. Not feeling great about the team. Would appreciate any advice. It's a super competitive work league. Got second a few weeks back. Trying to get back to the top. Thanks. Appreciate you, my friend. And excited to check this out. So first thing is, let me go ahead and set you up with some free vouchers here. And we got people saying that there's actual CMC news. So let me go back to Twitter. Let me see what the news is. Okay. What is the McCaffrey report now? Yeah, I don't see anything additional to what we've already covered. I see people talking about how this clip was from a year ago today. So this is a year ago today, where obviously McCaffrey missed the entire year.
Red flag. So is that a concern, a new concern? How does that work?
Not a concern for me, no.
You don't mind playing on Monday? No.
This is the thing there where you sat out maybe practice longer than you would have during season or something. As a precaution or not?
Every day presents new challenges. You know, it's just you got to do what you got to do.
Listed Phillies as well, which puts up a lot of red flags. So
yeah, which obviously not ideal, but it is what it is. Maybe it's a little deja vu, but now, Chrism, let's get back to this. So this is the keeper league where we are in a world of pain right now. We are the second to worst team in the league. We have the second to worst running back room in the league. We have the 9th worst wide receiver room in the league. I'm sorry, the 11th best running back room, 9th best wide receiver room, and 9th best tight end room. So we have the elite quarterback, but after that, it's a struggle. And on top of that, if we're looking at what we have with the league settings, since this is a double flex, we can't abuse them and just go, okay, the only thing that matters is let's get an elite quarterback and we can be a little bit weaker with our wide receiver depth. Since it's a double flex league and you effectively are going to be starting 4 wide receivers here weekly, that wide receiver depth is going to be a hell of a lot more important than it otherwise would be. So our week 1 starting lineup right now is Josh Allen, Breece Hall, Tyrone Tracy, Drake London, Mike Evans, Matthew Golden, Josh Downs, Tyler Warren. Like if we just go through and if you were to say draft this team, your round 1 pick effectively would be Drake London. Not ideal. Typically he's going in round 2. Your round 2 pick would have been Josh Allen. Okay. He's going at the 2-3 turn. Your round 3 pick would have been Mike Evans. Okay. He was going at the 3-4 turn. Your round 4 pick would have been Breece. Okay. Your round 5 pick would have been like, I guess you would have reached on like Matthew. Obviously, I know you didn't actually do this, but that would have been if this wasn't a keeper league and that was just this draft out the gate, which my point in saying this is we definitely have less value on this roster than a team that would have just been drafted normally if it was a redraft league. Now, looking at what we could do from here, I hate to say this, but when we're looking at the waiver wire options, running back, really gross. Like you already said, your league mates, they know what they're doing. Going over to wide receiver, it's pretty gross as well. Now, with that being said, with the Christian Kirk injury, the Jalen Coker injury, and the Adam Thielen trade, I think Xavier Legette would probably be a pretty interesting pickup. I would go ahead and I would drop Christian Kirk and I would pick up Xavier Legette. But nonetheless, it's not like the wide receivers here on our waiver wire are phenomenal. Tight end, we got Jonnu. Tight ends aren't great. The one position that we could say, you know what, we're okay streaming with a bad team, here would be quarterback. We have Caleb, we have Love, both on waivers. So for me personally, what I would look to do is I would actually look to sell Josh Allen, as much as that pains me. But I think this is a team where we should be trying to sell Josh Allen and get back Jonathan Taylor, get back Josh Jacobs, get back Chase Brown, get back Bucky Irving. Hell, if you're willing to take some risk, offer Josh Allen right now for McCaffrey and see what they say. But if you could pivot Josh Allen into one of those running backs, we slide down Breece Hall to being our RB2. We slide down Tyrone Tracy to being our RB3. All of a sudden, we have a solid running back room. And again, the skill positional depth is going to matter in your league here specifically, because in your league here specifically, this is a 12-team format where we can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So the depth matters with the skill positional options. So I would try to sell Allen for that running back. Then from there, instead of picking up Legette, what we maybe actually do, because we need the additional roster spot, is we would probably actually need to cut Christian Kirk and pick up 2 quarterbacks, pick up the combination of both Caleb Williams and Jordan Love. And then we can play the matchups between Caleb and Love as the season goes on. So typically an elite quarterback and an elite tight end, those are luxuries, which we tell a lot of people to trade for if they submit a team and it's like, okay, you have the number 1 team in the league analyzer. We can go through and we can afford a quarterback or we can afford a tight end. But here, your team's not good enough. The depth matters. So I would trade Allen. I would get one of those round 2 backs. If you can't get one of the round 2 backs, maybe you try to package Joe Mixon with Allen to get it done if you need to. But that's what it's going to hinge on. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And like I said, I did send you over some of those free questions as well, just in case you have any follow-ups that you want. But it looks like we had 600 likes in the live stream. So drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat and we will pick somebody to give some free questions to right after. But let's mark that complete. And then we're going to go over and we are going to, we'll log out, log back in on the site to make sure this thing's working. And then we will pick one of y'all. Okay, can I get my users page up on the site? Let's pick one of y'all real quick. We got FTB Fantasy. FTB Fantasy. FTB Fantasy just found you on the site and just sent you over some free vouchers for you to get some questions in. Thanks for hanging out with us in the stream. Now, let's move this over to our next question. Oh, we got some simple ones. We'll get to those in a second. Let's do some more team reviews. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to power through about 4 or 5 team reviews. Then I'll turn them back on the stream. But we definitely have to get through all these team reviews before the game starts. And I'm going to be live streaming all the way up until kickoff. So, of course, answer as many questions as I can. Now, CJ Dung says, thanks for all the hard work you do. Shout out for all the streams. Wanted to look at maybe getting a better quarterback or tight end. I was getting too good of value for Hampton and Rice to pass up. Had to settle for those quarterbacks. Instead, currently have a trade processing for Chase Brown and Tet for Kyron and Golden. Really appreciate you, my guy. And excited to check this out. First thing I want to figure out is, okay, Chase and Tet for Kyron and Golden. I would very much prefer Chase and Tet there. Hopefully that's the side we are getting. That's the side that the league analyzer's loading into our roster currently. And the league analyzer is going to load in the most accurate, up-to-date roster. So either this trade, we got Chase and Tet, and that's why we are now the number 1 team in the league analyzer, or we are trading them away and the trade just hasn't gone through on ESPN yet. And if the trade hasn't gone through, I would try to stop it if you're not getting the Chase Brown and Tet side, because that's definitely the winning side. Now, looking at what we have at quarterback, we are currently sitting with Dak Prescott and Jared Goff. So 12-team league, this is okay. Is it the best quarterback room in the world? Probably not. Is it the worst? Probably not. You're just going to be playing the matchups. Again, Dak had a horrible matchup. Sportsbooks were projecting the Cowboys to be the 4th lowest scoring offense of the week. So we did put Dak pretty low in our rankings. Hope we did not start him this week, but obviously long-term, Dak Prescott's going to have much better matchups than having to go up against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, running back, this is why we are the number 1 team in the league analyzer. And it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, so the wide receiver depth's not going to matter much. So I love having the elite RBs of Ashton, Ginty, Chase Brown, Amari, and Hampton. I think that you are going to be absolutely crushing with this group of RBs. We have Caleb Johnson, Joe Mixon as players that we don't need in the short term, but give us long-term upside. So there, really like that as well. Now, there is currently Brian Robinson out there on your waiver wire. So what I would do today is I would cut Brenton Strange and pick up Brian Robinson. I understand we don't necessarily need the help at running back, but at the end of the day, you are just chasing the highest ceiling possible. And with the McCaffrey injury news, again, I know he's saying he's okay, blah, blah, blah. We don't exactly know what's going on, but there's enough uncertainty that with the news, we can confidently say Brian Robinson has a much higher ceiling than what we are going to be getting from Brenton Strange. Like, what's the ceiling for Strange? I know we have a low floor with Loveland. Going over and looking at the tight ends on our waiver wire, I guess they're not great. But still, I think that, like, if we get negative McCaffrey news tomorrow or the next day, which McCaffrey still technically is questionable for the game on Sunday, you could trade Brian Robinson for a much, much better tight end than Brenton Strange. So, cut Strange, pick up B-Rob. Wide receiver, we have Nico, Tet, Pickens, Rice, Flowers, Ayuk. So a lot of teams that have Rice and Ayuk, I would say, you know what? I just kind of got to be a little bit patient here. We got to make sure that we wait for our wide receiver depth pieces to come in. And once that does happen, then at that point, we can go through and I don't know. We can make a trade to get a better tight end. We can make a trade to get a better quarterback. But my holdup on it is it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. We have Hampton in the flex spot. Like, we don't need to wait here. I understand we don't have Caleb. We don't have Mixon. We don't have Rice. We don't have Ayuk as viable plays early in the season. But we're the number 1 team in the league analyzer. Not only are we the number 1 team in the league analyzer, but at the same time, like, you don't need that much depth in this league. So I would do what we can to potentially trade Amari and Hampton and Dak Prescott to get, here's all my offers I'm sending out today. I'm sending out Amari and Hampton and Dak Prescott to get Josh Allen. Amari and Hampton and Dak Prescott to get Lamar Jackson. Amari and Hampton and Dak Prescott to get Jaden Daniels. Amari and Hampton and Dak Prescott to get Jalen Hurts. And obviously we would trade Jared Goff instead of Dak if whoever we're trading with wants Goff instead. I'm also offering Chase Brown and Loveland for Brock Bowers. I'm offering Amari and Hampton and Loveland for McBride. I'm offering Amari and Hampton and Loveland for Kittle. I would say the same thing with Tet McMillan, because obviously we don't need the wide receiver depth here. And we could send those additional 7 offers out, right? We could send 14 offers out today and just hope that one of them gets accepted. But my assumption would be you're much more likely to get the trade done with Hampton than you would be with Tet. But those are the 14 offers we send out. And we're going to send up a prayer that one of the teams that have the elite quarterback or have the elite tight end really need the running back like Hampton or really need the wide receiver like Tet. Obviously, we're going to assume that the vast majority of them don't. The vast majority of them reject. And if that does happen, we'll cry a river and we'll still have the best team in this league. But yeah, the only thing that we can do is go trade for the elite quarterback, trade for the elite tight end. We can't trade Ashton Genty for him. We're not trading Chase Brown for him. I would trade Chase Brown for Brock Bowers, but we're not going to trade Chase Brown for Josh Allen or Lamar. But I think that's all I got for you. I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. Now, let's move this over and we're going to get this going for a long-time member of the flock with Kieran. Says, help me beat Zach and Badaki in our home league. Oh, there is no way you are in a home league with Zach and Badaki. Are you kidding me? My guy, okay, here's what we're doing here. We are making sure you are set up to win this league. And you are in a home league with them because I can see their sleeper profile picks. And let me send you a bunch of vouchers over. You got to beat them. And according to my rankings, maybe their rankings on the side are a little bit different. But according to my rankings, we are the number 1. I mean, we are over them. Now, actually, this is a super flex format. So super flex format, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Tua, Badaki would be way higher if we were accurately pulling in the super flex ranks. But you would be ahead of Zach regardless. But looking at what we have here, it's a start 9 super flex league. So effectively, we should be planning on starting a total of 6 running backs and wide receivers. And we should be planning on starting a total of 3 quarterbacks / tight ends. So we have Kyler Goff in our lineup every week at quarterback superflex. We have Trey McBride at tight end. We need 6 running backs and receivers combined. We have Barkley, Swift, Metcalf, Neighbors that we can start with confidence. Travis Etienne and Kupp in our last 2 flex spots is disgusting. Like, I hate to say this, and I almost never say it, but the majority of teams that we look at, the majority of leagues that we look at, the depth just frankly doesn't matter. Like, you're in the live stream enough to know that the average team I'm looking at is like a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, or it's a 10-team league where you start 8 total players. So there, like, you can just hear me say over and over again, hey, 2 for 1 deal, 2 for 1 deal, 2 for 1 deal, 2 for 1 deal. Can we improve inside the starting lineup? Can we sell this guy on the bench? But here, if you're telling me that ETN and Cooper Kupp are in our starting lineup, If you really like these guys and we want to wait until after week 1 to see what they give us, and maybe Cooper Kupp's still viable, who knows? Maybe Travis Etienne's still the starting running back here. I'm hoping so for my Flock League team, but it's not necessarily a guarantee one way or another. I would probably tear down from one of the elite names. Like if you could trade Saquon Barkley and pick up like Ashton Jeanty and A.J. Brown after the A.J. Brown dud, Jonathan Taylor, Marvin Olave, it may actually suit you if you don't have Etienne being a viable option, if Cooper Kupp's not a viable option. Another thing that's worth saying is while I understand that we need help at the depth spots, we need help with our running back, we need help with our wide receiver, I think that you still probably cut some of these bottom end receivers. Like for me, I think I would rather put Dallas Goedert into my flex over Calvin Austin. It's a good shot I'd put him in instead of Isaac Tesla. So I would cut Calvin Austin. I would cut Isaac Tesla. I would probably pick up Dallas Goedert and Will Shipley now that we saw that Shipley is the true just one-for-one replacement if Barkley were to go down. And again, I understand that we really need the wide receiver depth. So I'm even exploring the possibility of us down tiering from Barkley to a round 2 running back and getting a significant wide receiver added on. But I think I would just rather play Dallas Goedert in the flex spot than those depth receivers anyway. And Teresa, this is a great point. This is actually a better idea than what I had. Teresa says he could trade McBride and get Dallas Goedert off the waiver wire. This is much better than what I said. This is similar to a team that we looked at earlier where they had Josh Allen and they needed some depth at running back and wide receiver and they were weak there overall. I'm in 100% agreement with Teresa. Can we trade Trey McBride and can we get Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving? Could we trade Trey McBride and pivot over and like wide receivers a little bit tougher? After last night's game, I don't know if I'd rather have A.J. Brown over McBride. But if we really needed help at wide receiver like that, or needed help at running back, and in your league where the skill positional depth is going to be harder to come by, I wouldn't mind you whatsoever going through and you deciding to trade Trey McBride either for a running back and wide receiver, and then we play the waiver wire that way by going through and picking up Dallas Goedert. And then also you have additional guys like Kate Ott and Isaiah Likely there that if need be, like I would rather stream tight end in your league than I would stream wide receiver or running back. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way here. Again, thank you so much for hanging out with us in so many streams. I'm really hoping you beat Zach and Badaki. I understand that like trading McBride would get rid of the Kyler stack, but I'm a little bit less concerned about that in redraft. And I do think we just have to find a way to bolster our depth. But really appreciate you. And again, I was hoping I was able to help you out there. And we sent you a bunch of free vouchers that I'd be happy to look at for you. Now, real quick, let's pivot over and look at the quick questions. We got Mother Flocker. We need a running back start. We're going to go Hampton and Brees. I probably wouldn't go Brian Robinson over either guy, even if CMC was ruled out for this week. We're going to go Xavier Worthy at wide receiver, and then for the flex, Devontae Adams. Now, go Fetty here at the flex spot. I'm going to play Tet over Isaiah Pacheco very easily in a full PPR format. Pacheco, high ceiling, but at the same time, based off the struggles last year, I think it is difficult to be 100% sure you know what you have. We're going to go Hampton over ETN easily here at running back from Mother Flocka. Here, wide receiver, we're going to take the combo of T. Higgins and Worthy with no Rice. And then for the flex, we're going to go with Tet McMillan. Again, I want Tet in as many lineups we possibly could get him in. Now, let's move this over. Steven with our next one. Wide receiver, Puka, Brian Thomas, auto starts every week. And then wide receiver, we're going to go with the combination DJ Moore and Garrett Wilson in the flex. I don't think we can consider the running backs in the flex spot on your team. Gloomsheet traded Marv for CMC. I would 100% take McCaffrey over Marv in a redraft league now. Like, let's be real here. The floor for Marvin Harrison is he's not usable in fantasy. That's going to be the same floor that we have with McCaffrey. But the ceiling with McCaffrey, if we're going to be honest, is still that he is the number one player in fantasy. I don't think that ceiling exists for Marv. So, I'll go ahead and I'll take the McCaffrey side. Now, Jay Tui with our next one. Quarterback, Patrick Mahomes versus Baker Mayfield. This is close. You have no Godwin. You have no McMillan. Igbuka's first game ever, but you have a great matchup against Atlanta. Let me see. Where did we put them in our QB rankings? They have to be like back-to-back. No. Yeah, we put Baker at 7. We put Mahomes at 8. The implied team total does say that Tampa's going to slightly outscore Kansas City. We've seen the plan A for at least last year. The plan A for Tampa was to throw the ball. Plan A for the Chiefs was to run it. So I think we go ahead and we probably take Baker Mayfield. And then down in the flex between Igbuka and Tracy. Igbuka for sure has a higher ceiling. I don't love the matchup for Tracy. Full PPR format, I think we can go with Igbuka over him. Mark, we got Bucky, Hampton, Lamb versus Pollard, Gibbs, Brian Thomas. Lamb versus Gibbs, give me Gibbs, but as close. Bucky versus Brian Thomas, give me Brian Thomas. Hampton versus Pollard, give me Hampton. I'd probably rather have the Gibbs and Brian Thomas side of this. Celeris says, happy PPR. Also, would you drop anyone for Garindo? Ooh, we have CMC. So plan A is CMC and Achan. Wide receiver, we have Adams and Tet. Flex, we're going to go with Terry and Brees. And if CMC does not play, then we probably got to get in Olave. And I would not drop anybody there for Garindo. I think your team's too good. I'd drop players for Brian Robinson there. I'd drop Judkins for Brian Robinson in RB, but not Garindo. Now, 8 crazy nights. This is Stroud, Gino. We're going to go Stroud over Gino. Gino's interesting, though. You have no Christian Gonzalez for the Pats this week. And then for the flex, Jalen Warren, you have as a starting running back. Jacoby Myers obviously gets the bump. Olave does have the target volume, but the garbage offense. Looking at where I have them in my rankings this week, I have Jalen Warren at 52, Olave at 54. And I think we probably stand by that here. Again, Jalen Warren's a starting running back on a team that's currently favored. Now, Luke Tax for the flex. I don't know if we filled this out correctly, but if this is really our question, I'd go Amon-Ra St. Brown out of our options here. If we needed 2 wide receivers and a flex, then I'd go with St. Brown and Garrett Wilson at wide receiver, and then our 2 flex spots would be Igbuka and Dobbins. But I don't know if we filled that out correctly. Now here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to refresh this. I don't think... Oh, actually, we have some more simple questions. Let's answer these. Jacoby would be the best guy that we would want to get in the lineup from the bench, and I'm not playing Jacoby over the current options that you have. Do we have another tight end? Yeah, you got to play Kyle Pitts over him, though. Now, Ignorant Technician trading Chubb, Dobbins, Taylor, Adams, Igbuka, McBride for Brees and Puka. Taylor to Puka upgrade, McBride to Brees downgrade, and we are paying Igbuka, Adams, Dobbins, Chubb to get it done. It's very easily this side, considering your league settings where it's a 12-team start 8 format. You could not trade this many viable pieces for Brees Hall and Puka Nacua. Be different if you didn't have like Jonathan Taylor in there as well, but you're also like giving up exciting names. Now, BRB, Puking a Bear, says wondering who to start. So wide receiver, we have Marv, we have Hunter, we have Flowers. I really do like Flowers in this game environment where it should be the highest scoring game of the week. Marv in general, I would want 9 times out of 10 over Flowers. I think we probably keep that as is. And then for the flex, Flowers versus Tracy. Again, Flowers going to be in so much of a better offense, and it's a full PPR format. I think I do want to get Flowers in there. Let's refresh. Okay, so it looks like we are all caught up with the quick questions. How many team reviews do I still need to do? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So I will turn the team reviews back on the site. So if you wanted to submit a team review, I will have them open for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Depending on how many people submit them, I don't exactly know, but I will guarantee that it gets answered within the next 24 hours, your team review. I won't be able to guarantee that it gets answered before the game today. I'm going to try my best, but again, it's going to come down to how many people submit them. So let me turn that on, and as I do that, I will stall by showing y'all what I currently have for my pick'em on Underdog tonight. And again, I think the reason you definitely need to be considering submitting an Underdog on a pick'em on Underdog tonight is given all the promotions that they have for the first week of the season. Right now, you have a 50% profit boost token for the Chiefs-Chargers game. I am using that to go with Kelsey, lower than 50.5 receiving yards, Hampton, higher than 9.85 fantasy points, and Mahomes, lower than 9.45, and this is going to be $50 to win about $400. Now, if you don't like these, come up with your own, but they also have a 100% profit boost token that drops tomorrow for us to use on the games on Sunday, and obviously, I will show you what we are planning on doing for that as well. Now, lastly, if you are new to Underdog Fantasy, you could actually get $50 added into your account after you play your first $5 if you use promo code FLOCK. So, if you use code FLOCK, play your first $5, you'll get $50 added in your account. And on top of that, if you fill out the Google form on flockfantasy.com, if you have the season pass to Underdog Fantasy, you're going to get an additional $10 added to your account. So that would mean that you essentially deposit 10, play 5, and then you have like 70 in your account for you to take advantage of these promos with. But links in the description, links in the live chat. Again, use code FLOCK if you want those promos and if you want the free $50. Now, Damien with our next one says, hey, I'm not really a fan of my wide receivers. Are there any trades or changes I can make? So we got Lamb Chops as the number 2 team in the league analyzer. This is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the wide receiver depth is not going to matter that much. So I love having the elite quarterback and I love having the elite tight end here. We are sitting with the combination of Jalen Hurts as well as Trey McBride. Now, typically, if I'm looking at this, I would say that you really don't need to have another quarterback after Jalen Hurts. If everybody in your league's rostering 2, though, which looks to be the case, I'm okay with you doing so. Like if we have McCarthy, because obviously McCarthy looks to be a better play than really anybody else that's currently sitting out there on the waiver wire. Now, if we were to make an easy ad drop today, I don't know the exact league settings that your commissioner set up. Maybe you have to wait until after the games. But I would drop Jaden Blue for Quinshon Judkins, even with the Miles Sanders fumble. I think Quinshon Judkins just has a higher ceiling than Jaden Blue. And then also, with that being said, with this being a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where the wide receiver depth won't matter much, I would also consider dropping Marvin Mims for Byshell Tootin. But we are comfortable at the top at running back with Chase Brown as an anchor. And then we can hopefully trust one of Pacheco or Javonte. But obviously, it's kind of going to come down to what we see over the next few weeks. But Javonte started off really strong last night. Looks to be the locked and started for the Dallas Cowboys. Now we have the elite tight end with Trey McBride. So again, it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where we're one of the best teams in the league, according to the analyzer. I think our team's going to even go up higher if we drop Jaden Blue and Marvin Mims for the combo of Quinshon Judkins and Byshell Tootin, just chasing the highest ceiling we could possibly get here in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. And honestly, I think you've already done a phenomenal job optimizing your construction here for these league settings in particular. If this was a start 8 format, I would possibly consider trading one of the onesies. But as it stands right now, I don't think you make any trade. I think you have a great team. I would not stress. I personally would just make those 2 waiver wire moves. And if you want to keep Mims, I'm not going to fault you for it. But I would for sure at least drop Jaden Blue. But I think that's all I got for you. Really appreciate you. And really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. Now let's move over to our next question. This one's going to be coming out from Kirch, my guy. Happy to see us. Says, any advice on the team? Team name, that's what Cheesehead. Thanks, broski. Appreciate you, my friend. So I don't get the reference on the team name. It looks like this is a super competitive team or a super competitive league. Like you've seen some of these leagues that we've looked at, and there's one team that's by far and away best according to the league analyzer. And then there's one team that's by far and away worse than the rest. That's not the case here. Everybody is kind of in a similar boat. I mean, there's one team that's maybe worse than everybody else's, this team at the very bottom, but everybody else is about the same. This is a league where the wide receiver depth is going to matter a bit. This is a league in which you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly, and it's a 12-team format, so the depth off the waiver wire is not going to be phenomenal. Now, also as a quick side note, I just turned off team reviews again. I think we got like 5 or 10 people submitting them in, so maybe we're going to turn them on again tomorrow. But again, like I said, I think what we're going to have to do this year is we'll have team reviews on for about 5-10 minutes, let people send them in, and then we'll turn them off. But anyway, quarterback, when we have Bo and Caleb, if this was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format where wide receiver depth not going to take up a high percentage of our starting lineup output, I would really be doing anything we could to go out there and try to get the top end quarterback. However, we're going to be just fine with this quarterback room in this league because we go over and we look at our starting lineup with the skill positions. You got to start 6 combined running backs and receivers here. We got Jacobs, Kenneth Walker as auto starts every week. Amon-Ra St. Brown, and then I hope Travis Hunter as auto starts every week, but we don't know for sure with Hunter. Then we have like Brees, Diggs in flex consideration. We have Montgomery as a depth piece, which is nice. And then we have Jaden Reed, Darnell Mooney, both banged up. And then I'm assuming Christian Watson on the IR. Now, going over and looking at what we have at tight ends. We have Loveland and we have Brenton Strange, completely fine rostering 2 here as well. So for me, my main thing as I look at this team is like the depth matters at the skill positions. We have a ton of depth at running back. 2 separate things I would look at. If it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I would say Xavier Legette's probably never hitting your starting lineup, even if he hits his upside. But in a league like this, that's a double flex. I honestly probably would drop DJ Giddens and I would pick up Xavier Legette. So I would drop Giddens, pick up Legette, And then one other thing that I would consider is if we can find a team that's desperate at running back, is there a world in which we can sell them Montgomery for an upgrade at wide receiver 2? Like, just let's go through and let's sort this by the teams that are worst at running back in this league, because we're comfortable. This team down here is DeAndre Swift, RJ Harvey, Brian Robinson. So if CMC is good to go, this team may be toast at RB. Could we send out a lowball offer of David Montgomery and Travis Hunter for AJ Brown today? Going over and looking at this next one, this next team has Jordan Mason, J.K. Dobbins as their RB 2 and 3. Could we try to send out David Montgomery and Travis Hunter for Jackson Smith and Jigba? This team is Braylon Allen as their RB 2. Can we try to send them Travis Hunter and David Montgomery for Tyreek Hill? This team has the McCaffrey injury and at the same time has Tank Bigsby as their RB2. Can we send them David Montgomery and Travis Hunter to try to get to T. Higgins? Or David Montgomery and Stephon Diggs to try to get to T. Higgins? That team's okay at running back. This team's okay at running back. Yeah, as we go up the league analyzer, obviously these teams are going to look much better at RB, where these teams don't really need the help with the position. Yeah, the CMS Barkley and HN, right? They're fine. And James Conner. So really, it would just be those one-off squads that if we could trade for a wide receiver upgrade that way, I would really be interested, because Montgomery is our running back 4 here. And I think the points per game gap that you would get with the wide receiver upgrade at wide receiver 2 is probably better than what you'd lose from no longer having like Montgomery in your second flex and having to move over to another receiver. And outside of that, again, the only other thing I would consider is possibly dropping DJ Giddens and picking up Xavier Legette. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. And let me make sure that we send you over some additional questions. Let's see. Kieran says, just watch my team review. I was camping and had bad reception when I drafted this. Bad planning on my end. Ended up auto-drafting Judkins in the 5th, which screwed my entire draft up. That is hilarious, my friend, because I've heard another guy that auto-drafted Quinshon Judkins. Actually, no, I think he did so intentionally. I think I know a guy who intentionally drafted Judkins in the 5th. But appreciate you, my friend. I hope I was able to help you out in some way with that. And I hope I was able to help you out too, Kirch. And y'all both should have vouchers in your account. Send any additional questions y'all have. But let's move this over to our next one. This one's going to be from Blackfire. My guy, really appreciate you. And let me send you over some questions here. Says, first time drafting, thought I did okay. Curious what to improve on. I definitely could have done better running back and quarterback. Any trades? It's a 9-player start, 8 bench. No, 9 players start, 8 bench, 3 flex, full PPR. So it's a pretty deep league. This is a league in which we do not need to worry about having the elite quarterback. We do not need to worry about having the elite tight end. We are actually really incentivized to build around wide receiver depth, because we can start 5 wide receivers weekly here in a full PPR format. And pulling this up, let's go through this. And honestly, this is a phenomenal team for your league specifically. This would be a garbage team if it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, but these league settings, this is great. So again, we can start 5 wide receivers here weekly. And we have St. Brown, Nico Higgins, Mike Evans, Josh Downs. I'm assuming we are jamming these 5 wide receivers every week. Quarterback's going to make up a slightly smaller percentage of our starting lineup output with Bo Nix and Brock Purdy. But again, we can be completely fine playing the matchups here. I'm assuming that we're going to be playing Bo Nix most weeks, hoping that he gets to a little bit more rushing upside like he had last season. I'm trying to think if there's anything else to say of relevance here. A running back, we have Trevion, Tony Pollard. So we have 2 running backs that we can get by with. I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, this is a weak running back room. But Trevion Pollard with the upside of Caleb, Jordan Mason, Judkins, Braylon in the long term, it's like we can survive at running back, right? And that's all we really need to be able to ask for in a league like this. Because when we go over and we look at what we have at wide receiver, we have a better wide receiver 1 than most teams with Amon-Ra St. Brown. We have a better wide receiver 2 than every team with Nico Collins. We have a better first flex spot with T. Higgins than pretty much every team. We have a better second flex spot with Mike Evans than pretty much every team. So we can afford to be a little bit lackluster. And tight end's going to help us stay alive with Sam Laporta as well. So if this was a 2 wide receiver 1 flex, this would be garbage. And there would be dramatic changes you would need to make by trading away Nico Collins for Ashton Genty. Right? But I don't want to change anything with this. Looking at waiver wire pivots, I think Dylan Sampson I would rather have over Cedric Tillman. So I would probably cut Tillman and pick up Dylan Sampson, while I understand that wide receiver depth matters more in a league like this. Like, I don't know how Dylan Sampson's... Like, I could see Dylan Sampson projecting to be the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns at some point. And if, like, Dylan Sampson is the starting running back for the Browns, you can comfortably start him in that third flex spot. What has to happen for Cedric Tillman to be a comfortable start for you? Like, even if Flacco's still starting and Jerry Jeudy gets injured, where am I putting Cedric Tillman in my wide receiver rankings that week? Wide receiver 30? We still wouldn't be that comfortable with him. So I love your team. I don't do anything with your team. I cut Cedric Tillman. I pick up Dylan Sampson. And I think you have a phenomenal squad. Like, this is a league where wide receiver is the most important position. You have St. Brown, Nico, Higgins, Evans. You're great. And I sent you over some free questions. Let me just triple check that I did in case you had anything that you want me to follow up with. But I think you're good for now, to be honest. Now, Mickey coming through with our next one. Says, hey, Mason, we just drafted on Monday. For once, I actually feel good about the team that I drafted. Well, congrats, my guy. And let me send you over some questions as well. So this is going to be a league where the wide receiver depth matters again. This is a 12-team start 8 format. And yeah, I understand we already covered the CMC update. And looking at what we have with this team, again, quarterback's not going to be as important. Neither will tight end. And the skill positions, we're going to take a bump up in importance. So pulling this up, quarterback, we have Kyler. Tight end, we have Hawkinson. So with the combo of Kyler and Hawk, is this like a super strong quarterback room? No. Again, I understand depth mattering more at wide receiver and depth mattering more at running back in this league than it would in a 2 wide receiver single flex. But for me, if I had Kyler Murray, I am completely okay with rostering 2 quarterbacks. Like, I don't think Kyler's in the tier of Allen, Lamar, Daniels, Hurts. So I think I would opt to probably drop Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, how does Wan'Dale Robinson ever hit your lineup in a non-best ball league? How do you ever find yourself in a position where you're like, yeah, you know what? I feel comfortable about Wan'Dale. I know Wan'Dale's much better than the other options on the waiver wire, where the options on the waiver wire currently are like Hollywood Brown, Quentin Johnston, Romeo Dobbs, Jack Bash, Pat Bryant, Michael. I think they're all about the same. So I would drop Wan'Dale. I would pick up Lawrence. Or if you really didn't want to roster a second one, I would probably go ahead and as well, you could look at just picking up some of these premium handcuff backs. So, like, based off the usage that we saw last night, it does look like if something were to occur to Saquon Barkley, Will Shipley will be the replacement. It's not going to be A.J. Dillon. It would be Shipley, and we know that at this point. And based on the preseason usage, that was probably pretty likely as well. So I would go ahead. I would cut Wan'Dale. I would probably cut Joshua Palmer as well. And at the very minimum, pick up Tyler Algier, Will Shipley. Or if you wanted to go pick up the other quarterback, we pick up the other quarterback. And this is all going without, and this is all obviously if Jalen McMillan's on our IR and if Jalen McMillan's not taking a roster spot. If McMillan isn't on our IR, if he's actually on our bench, then it would be an easy situation instead to drop McMillan, Palmer, and Wan'Dale and pick up Algier, Shipley, and Lawrence. Running back, we have Barkley, Connor, Warren, Ramadre. So super comfortable. We have a lot of upside at running back. We have the number 1 running back room in the league. Wide receiver, we have A.J. Brown, Tyreek, Wilson, Ricky Pearsall. We can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly, but we also have viable plays at running back. So what I would do here is I would just make those simple waiver wire pivots. I think you have a really good team. I think it's optimized for your format. I wouldn't want to make any trades, at least not right now. And honestly, you drop Wan'Dale, Palmer, pick up the 2 players you're talking about. I wouldn't be surprised at all if you go to the number 1 spot in the league analyzer. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my friend. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is going to be coming out from Eric. And I'm going to go get water. Let me get water, and I will then come back and set y'all up with some free questions. So just give me 1 second. We'll come back and get Eric's team going for him. All right, we are back. Drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat, and we will get y'all set up with some free questions. But let's see. Color says, holy, the Brazil game is 500,000 viewers already. How many views do you think it ends up with? I do think this game is going to be the biggest game of the year views-wise. Let's see, we got a B. Schmidt. So let me search you on the site, see if I can find you, and send you over some free questions. B. Schmidt. I typed that incorrectly. I can't find you unless you use code FLOCK on the site, my friend. We got Drewski. Found you on the site and sent you over some free questions, so I'll be happy to answer whenever you want, my friend. Thank you for hanging out with us on the stream. And let's move this over to Eric says, what are your thoughts, Mason? I'm new to the flock. I'm in a league where people don't want to trade right now. All good, my friend. Well, I'm going to hook you up with some free vouchers anyway, just in case maybe somebody in your league wants to make a trade later in the year. So this is a 10-team league where you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So we're going to assume the waiver wire options are decent. And at the same time, we're going to assume that, wide receiver depth is going to be somewhat important. Now, that being said, as we look at this, teams 1 through 8 are all about the same in the league analyzer. Then you have a significant drop off for teams 9 and 10. So looking at us, we are at the 8 spot, not the best, not the worst. And is there a way for us to just move ourselves up naturally with waiver wire pivots? No. The waiver wire definitely is good. Don't get me wrong. We have Braylon, we have Bateman, we have Leggett, we have Tootin, we have Dylan Sampson. There are interesting players on waivers. Looking at where we are at with our quarterback position, we have Josh Allen and Bo Nix. So this goes without being said. But when we have Allen at quarterback, we would very much want to just try any way we can to try to trade Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. Try to trade Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton in a 2-for-1 deal to try to upgrade at wide receiver. Now, it's a 10-team league. So, let me see the worst teams in the league at quarterback and see if there's any way that they go through and they make one of these trades. So, this team here, they have the number 1 wide receiver room in the league, and their quarterback rooms, Drake May and J.J. McCarthy. Is there any world in which we can sell them Cortland Sutton and Bo Nix for Jackson Smith and Jigba? For A.J. Brown? If that's possible, we do it in a heartbeat. Hell, I may even consider offering them an offer of Josh Allen and a random wide receiver like Olave for Puka Nacua and just see what they say. Now, going over to running back, we are jamming Taylor and Genty every single week. Phenomenal running back room at the top end. We have Henderson, Pacheco, Cam, Benson, so a ton of running back upside underneath. Going over to receiver, we have Ladd, Sutton, Olave, Jennings, Shaheed. Tight end, we have the combo of Loveland and Kincaid. This is a great team. If your league mates aren't really wanting to trade, I understand that. Maybe just week 1, we start Genty, we start Taylor, we start Ladd, we start Sutton. And then in the 2 flex spots, we're going to go with Henderson and Pacheco. Tight end, I would start Loveland and Kincaid. Week 1's going to be tough given the game environment in Baltimore. Buffalo is going to be so good. It's going to be so many points scored. Tight end's going to be a toss-up there, and then obviously we're starting Josh Allen every week. So we leave this as is. If Trevion and Isaiah Pacheco both smash, you could consider in week 3 or week 4 trying to sell Pacheco and Sutton to get a wide receiver upgrade, or Sutton and Olave. Or Pacheco and Olave to get a wide receiver upgrade. You could consider going Pacheco and Loveland if Pacheco smashes and we can get a top 3 tight ends. But again, if your league mates aren't wanting to trade and we're just solely looking at waiver wire moves that you want to make with this team, there are none. I think you're already doing a phenomenal job on the waiver wire. Really like the roster construction of the team overall. Maybe if we were saying the only thing that matters is upside, possibly you drop Shaheed for Braylon Allen, because if you were to get an injury to Breece, Braylon Allen could potentially be that league winner. But yeah, I think it's a great team. I sent you over some of those free questions. So again, if you have anything that comes across your table that you would like me to take a look at, I'd be super happy to try to help you out any way that I can, my guy. But let's hit next question. And we'll get to this team in a second, but let me look at the quick questions first. And so we'll get to the quick questions. What I want to do quick. This is a trade. Baker and Flowers versus Jalen Hurts and Leggett. I'm going to take Jalen Hurts here. Assuming it's a 4-point passing touchdown format. We have Puka, we have Tyreek, we have Smith, we have Judy, we have plenty of wide receiver production. Give me Jalen Hurts. 6-point passing touchdown league. Baker and Hurts will be a little bit closer, though. Now, ZT says, got the season pass. Don't know if I got vouchers, though. So if you use code FLOCK before you got the season pass, you should have gotten vouchers to send me a free start sit and a free trade. If you're having any issues in the site issues section of the Discord, you can send a message and one of the developers could try to help you out. But here, looking at what we have at wide receiver, Devontae Adams, easy jam. And then down in the flex, we have Wilson, Waddle, Trevion as the best options. Dear God, I think long-term, you're probably going to go with Trevion here. Short-term, you could consider one of the receivers. What's hilarious is I just pulled up my flex rankings. I have Wilson 43, Waddle 44, and Henderson 45. So it's super, super close. And ultimately, I do think it's up to you. But for now, I have Wilson ranked as the play. I think long-term, you're not doing that. But obviously, Trevion week 1, we don't exactly know what the workload's going to be like. Now, Evan with our next one. This is a standard scoring 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, and single flex format. So yeah, we can see with the league analyzer that this is a non-PPR league. Non-PPR league, Kyron Williams, I would rather have over Drake London. And it's not even that close either. Let's actually pull this up real quick if this is linked. Let's look at this for Kyron. Last year, you averaged 17.01 PPR points, but he averaged 2.1 receptions per game. So let's subtract that. So Kyron averaged about 15 points per game last year in a non-PPR format. What did Drake London average in a non-PPR league? So non-PPR is very different than a full PPR format. London averaged 16.5 points in a full PPR. Let's subtract the 6 receptions a game. Drake London averaged about 10.5 points per game in a non-PPR league. So Kyron had about 5 points per game more than London last year in a non-PPR format. Again, not guaranteed to be the case this season, but it is really good to have that context of why I'm going to tell you, you go Kyron and Sutton, and I don't think it's that hard. Here, you just jam the running backs into standard format. Now, Izias with our next one. We have McCaffrey in the flex right now. If McCaffrey does end up missing, you are going to end up having to play T. Higgins. And this is brutal because I'd play Higgins over. You know what we're going to do? I'm going to take this out. We're going to take that. We're going to put McCaffrey at the running back spot. T. Higgins in the flex. And then if McCaffrey doesn't play, you pivot to Trevion. Now, Idiot Cole with our next one. Running back, Harvey, Kyron, Trevion, Kyron easily week 1 over the rookies. For the wide receiver spot, Flowers in a great matchup against the Bills. Tight end, give me Loveland over Otten. And then the flexes, we're going to be going with Trevion and Ricky Pearsall. But obviously, we can be looking at Travis Hunter long-term. I would just like to see what the role looks like for Hunter week 1. Now, let's see. Guido Phelan, this is Gibbs, DJ Moore versus CMC, Terry, and Addison. Give me Gibbs over CMC by a mile at this point. Give me DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin, Tomato D'Amato. I'd rather have Terry, but it's close. Picking up Jordan Addison here, even in a 14-team format, I think it doesn't bridge the gap for you to take on this much risk. For me, it's kind of easily the Jahmyr Gibbs side. Now let me submit this, refresh, and see if we have any more quick questions that have come in. No more. Let me check the chat. We got Naeem says, what picks do you have for today, Mason? So I did submit an underdog pick 'em for today because, again, this is the week that they are doing the promos that, in my opinion, I really think that you should be taking advantage of. So the promo that they have tonight is a 50% profit boost token on Underdog. So how I use that is I went Kelsey for lower than 50.5 receiving yards, Amari and Hampton for higher than 9.85 fantasy points, and then Patrick Mahomes for lower than 19.45 fantasy points. So this is 50 to win about 400 because we are using that 50% profit boost token. Underdog, I'll let you know after the game what we're probably going to be doing for the pick'em tomorrow. I'm sorry, on Sunday. But the Sunday slate, we're actually going to get a 100% profit boost token. So 100% we need to be using that. And obviously, I know, Naeem, you're already on Underdog, but I will say for anybody that's not already on Underdog, if you wanted to take advantage of all the promos they're doing this week, we have the link in the description, link in the comment section. It says, tell me on Underdog. And also, if you use code FLOCK, they're going to add $50 to your Underdog account after you play your first 5. And on top of that, if you got the season pass to flockfantasy.com, you will also be getting an additional $10 thrown into your Underdog account. Just fill out the Google form if you want to get that. So make sure you take advantage of those, because again, you can essentially just deposit 10, play 5, and then like have $70 in your account to take advantage of the promos. And again, use code FLOCK if you want all those, and the links in the live chat. Now, Like a Good Neighbors is our next team. It says 15+ year league with friends. That's incredible, my guy. How are we looking? 8th pick. Spears is on the IR, not actually rostered. Okay, great. Good to know that. So this is Like a Good Neighbor. We are dead smack dab in the middle of the league analyzer at 6. But if you look at the distribution of value, it's like the teams 2 through 6 are all about the same. And then as long as you're not in the bottom 4 here, you're pretty much in a good spot in this league. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, so the wide receiver depth's not going to matter that much. And we have very easy moves that we can make to improve in the league analyzer. The first thing being is I think we need to pick up Caleb Johnson off the waiver wire. I would cut Mason Taylor in a heartbeat for Caleb Johnson. I think if you're looking at the ceiling of these players in the second half of the season, like realistically, also looking at what we have on the waiver wire at tight end, like I would rather have Dalton Kincaid over Mason Taylor anyway. So cutting Mason Taylor and picking up Caleb Johnson, I understand obviously we don't want to be cutting Brian Robinson because we have McCaffrey and we had the McCaffrey injury, which honestly, before we moved McCaffrey down our rankings, I would have assumed that you probably would be in a spot in which you would have been as a top 3 team in the league analyzer, but obviously the McCaffrey injury sketches it out a bit. So I would cut Mason Taylor, pick up Caleb Johnson. Quarterback, we have Jared Goff, McCarthy. We can play the matchups between these two guys, no problem. Running back, we have CMC, James Cook, Montgomery, Brian Robinson, in case we have the CMC injury turning into something. And then we have Caleb Johnson as the long-term upside piece. Wide receiver, Neighbors, Higgins as auto starts effectively for us every week. We have Worthy as a great flex play. Travis Hunter as the long-term option. And then tight end, we have Dallas Goedert. Great team. I don't know if we can do anything with this team trade-wise. Maybe if, like, halfway through the season, Caleb Johnson hits in a big-time way, or like we get a Jahmyr Gibbs injury, right? Say Gibbs goes down and David Montgomery turns into a running back 1. He turns into a league winner. Then maybe at that point, we would be interested in going through and trading like James Cook and Jared Goff to see if we can get an elite quarterback, or James Cook and Dallas Goedert to see if we can get an elite level tight end. But I think it would be a little bit too shaky to make that trade today with the McCaffrey uncertainty, as well as Caleb Johnson, who we're about to pick up, not being viable at all at the beginning portion of the season, and not having Spears at the beginning of the year either. So love the team. No trades. One simple move will move us up the league analyzer, and I'm confident in saying that. Drop Mason Taylor, pick up Caleb Johnson, and I think you're probably going to be pretty good to go. But really appreciate you, and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, and really hope we get to see you out in a live stream again soon. Okay. But our next team review, so like I said, we opened up the team reviews for about 5-10 minutes earlier on the stream, and these were all the ones that got submitted in that 5 to 10 minute window. And actually looking at it, it was exactly 5 minutes, because this is 35 minutes ago and this is 30 minutes ago. So again, what we're probably going to do going into the future is just whenever we can narrow down the teams on the live stream for the team reviews, I'll turn on the team reviews on the site where you can submit them. And if you're in the live stream, you'll have that opportunity where you'll have like a 5 to 10 minute window where you can get your team submitted. But hopefully everybody that submitted these is still in the stream, because we should be able to get to a couple of them at least. But this one's from Oscar. My guy, really appreciate you. Excited to look at this. And this is going to be a little bit of a tougher eval because this is a 14-team format. So with this being a 14-team league, obviously the depth's going to be a little bit harder to come by. The replacement level player that you can get off the waiver wire is going to be a little bit worse. So for that reason, typically, I don't think we need to be building around quarterback or tight end because it's a luxury position that's maybe going to be a little bit harder to build out your wide receiver and running back. Now, let's pull this up. We are the number one team in the league analyzer, and it's not even that close either. So if we were looking at moves to make today, I am cutting Isaac Tesla and I'm picking up Isaac Urindo, and we'll see what happens with McCaffrey on Sunday. If McCaffrey's good to go, then cool. We can go ahead and we can cut Isaac Urindo, and we can just go right back to maybe picking up a different one of these options. Now, looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Goff and Fields. Quarterback on the waiver wire in a 14-team format is going to be absolute garbage. So, actually, Goff and Fields in a 14-team league to play the matchups between these two guys, not that bad. I would go Goff this week. Now, going over and looking at what we have at running back, Kyron Williams and Amari Hampton as your RB1 and RB2 combo in a 14-team format, extremely solid. Again, I would opt to see if we can get Isaac Urindo down here as a depth piece rather than Isaac Tesla. Wide receiver, we have Jamar Chase, Cortland Sutton as absolute jams every single week. We have George Pickens, who I know I wasn't that excited about in the game last night because of the matchup. And also, I'm not the biggest Pickens guy in the world, but in a 10-team league, if your flex is George Pickens, I'm a little concerned. 14-team league, if your flex is George Pickens, that's great. And we even have Deebo Samuel's quality depth. And again, 14-team format when the options on the waiver wire are just going to be a little bit worse. I'm not interested in trading George Pickens and Tyler Warren for a better tight end. I'm not interested in trading Cortland Sutton and Jared Goff for a better quarterback. We need to hold on to this depth because if something happens, we can't replace it easily. And then going over to tight end, we have Tyler Warren, who hopefully can hit the ground running. Hopefully he just has a massive role right out the gate. Obviously, we don't exactly know. I love your team. I think, obviously, it has the most value in this league if we're looking at what we have from the league analyzer perspective. I think also just manually looking at it myself, I think from a league settings perspective, it's constructed extremely well. I know you submitted this in this live stream, Oscar. So if you have any questions regarding this, if you're out here right now, I'd be super happy to try to help you out in any way that I can. But again, I'm going to assume that we don't really have anything. I think you're just good to go. I think it's a great team. But I'll move on. If we see anything from Oscar in the chat, we can pivot back over to him. But let's move over to this next team. I hate injuries. And actually, we need a refresh and we need to sign in and sign out real quick. So Maxon says, talk about CMC again. My friend, you can rewind the live stream. We spent a good 30 minutes talking CMC, going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I don't know if we can keep on going back and forth on McCaffrey. Also, if you haven't already, go down there and hit that like button, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, we have streamed every day for God knows how long, and we're going to stream every single day until Christmas. So also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell next to the subscribe button if you want to be able to come out to these live streams. We give a bunch of free questions out in the live chat as well. Monkey says, Oscar just messaged. Okay. Oscar says, just mainly worried about running back because Hampton's a rookie. I would not be worried about Hampton because he's your RB2 in a 14-team league. Like, for reference, in the Flock League, like Avery that took Chase at the 101, took Kyron Williams and Amari and Hampton there at the 2-3 turn. And he feels very comfortable with his running back room in a 12-team format. And I think he feels I mean, I think it's justified for him to feel comfortable with this running back room. And that's a 12-team league. So for you to be in a 14-team league and you have to have that same exact combo, I think you're in a really good spot. I think you have fine depth as well. Again, I agree. We probably want to bolster the running back depth at the very bottom. So we go through and we probably make that pickup of Isaac Garindo. But outside of that, I don't think we're doing anything, my guy. But yeah, don't stress about your running back. I think you're in a really good spot. Like, again, the league analyzer idea is the 7th best running back room in the league. And for you to be that strong at wide receiver and not horrible at running back, super impressive there. But moving back over to I hate injuries. This is Wolf in Lamb's clothing. Where are we in the league analyzer? We are down here near the bottom. Now, why the league analyzer doesn't like our team and why I'm not going to like our team either is this is a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers, 1 flex in a 10-team format. So I would love a top-end quarterback. I would love a top-end tight end. We have neither. Now, I have TJ Hawkinson in my own league, so obviously I'm hoping Hawkinson dominates, but it's tough to be super optimistic with that. Now, looking at where we are with easy waiver wire pivots. For me personally, I think given the lack of overall rushing upside that we have with Matthew Stafford at this point, plus given what we have with the back injury, even though you have Devontae Adams, I think it would be an easy spot for me to cut Matthew Stafford and opt to pick up JJ McCarthy. I would actually pick up Trevor Lawrence if you did not start Dak Prescott this week and you were planning on starting Matthew Stafford. I would cut Matthew Stafford, pick up Trevor Lawrence to stream this week, and then we would drop Lawrence after the week for JJ McCarthy in the future. But we're definitely weakest at quarterback here in this 10-team league. I definitely think that we need to roster 2 quarterbacks that we can play the matchups with weekly. And for me, I think the matchups that you're going to be playing will be between like McCarthy and Dak. I think that's more exciting than Dak and Stafford. Now, going over and looking at what we have at running back, we are currently sitting with Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard. So we got Chase RB1 every week, Bucky RB2 every week, and Chuba in the flex spot every week. I really like that. And you can see the league analyzer likes it as well. We are 4th in this league at RB. We have Jordan Mason, Trey Benson, Dylan Sampson as the high upside shots at the running back position. I think we're completely fine. For me, I think that maybe Braylon Allen has a higher ceiling than Dylan Sampson, but I'm not going to fault you whatsoever if you wanted to go Sampson over Braylon. But I would potentially consider dropping him for either Braylon or Rachaad White. Again, like, I don't know even if he is the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns, which at this point we don't know, he's probably behind Jerome Ford. And if Quinshon Judkins does come back, he's probably behind Judkins as well. But even if he is the starter, I don't necessarily know what the ceiling is going to be when it comes to like the starting running back for the Cleveland Browns. Now, going over to wide receiver, we have Lamb, Adams that we're just jamming at wide receiver every week. We have Ridley as a quality depth piece, Downs quality depth piece, Myers quality depth piece. In terms of waiver wire moves that we would make here, probably there aren't any. I mean, while technically I have like Jaden Higgins possibly ranked over Braylon Allen, again, I think for your league, you just need to be optimizing for the highest ceiling that you possibly can get. And if you were to get an injury to Breece Hall, I think you get a pretty high ceiling when it comes to Braylon. Now, tight end, we have Johnny on waivers or not wanting to do it. I think you have a great team. Like, in terms of trades, what could we possibly do? I would love to upgrade at quarterback. I'd love to upgrade at tight end. But are we, like, trading? If we offer somebody Dak Prescott and Calvin Ridley for one of the top quarterbacks, they're going to laugh us out of the building in a 10-team league like this. So the only moves I potentially make are the small pivots. If you're in the chat right now, please let me know if you have any questions. I'd be super happy to try to help you out with this. This is for I hate injuries. And yeah, let me know if you have any specific questions. Nathan says, where can I find that pick and pack on Underdog? I can't find it. This isn't a flock pick and pack. This is just a regular pick 'em that I did. Everybody should have the 50% boosted token. So with everybody having the 50% boosted token, should be easy for you to be able to create this yourself. Connor says he tailed us on it. Appreciate you, my friend. Wishing us the best of luck. Make sure you use the 50% profit boost. Make sure you're getting like because I would not like that if you only like, if it wasn't in like an 8x, I don't know if I would like it. Okay. And I can't see any questions from I Hate Injuries, so I assume we are done here. And let's stall for I Hate Injuries. And again, of course, I will stall by saying like, this is the pick'em I'm going with for tonight. Kelsey for fewer than 59 receiving yards. Hampton for higher than 9.85 fantasy points. Mahomes for fewer than 19.5 fantasy points. Reason we're doing it, 50% profit boost token. Underdog week 1 is doing the best promos that they do all year. And on top of that, you have a 100% profit boost token dropping tomorrow for the Sunday slate that you can use on top of it. And if you are new to Underdog Fantasy and you use code FLOCK, you're going to get $50 added to your account after you play your first 5. Links in the live chat, links in the description, links in the comment section if you want to get on Underdog. Okay. Now, let's move this over to our next one. Bori with our next team says, use your draft sheets and was very happy with the team after the draft. CMC is definitely making it scary, though. Looking for any trade options you think we should attempt. All right, let's go ahead and let's check this out. So we got, okay, this is a pretty damn funny team name. I mean, we see a lot of like neighbors play on words. I have not seen this one. This one's unique. Doing the neighbor's wife is pretty good. But here it's a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So the wide receiver depth isn't going to matter that much. I would love an elite quarterback. I would love an elite tight end. Typically in a 2 wide receiver, single flex format, you can afford it. Now quarterback, we have Dak and Fields to play the matchups with. 10-team league, I would be really concerned. 12-team format, it's not the worst thing ever, right? Hopefully, I mean, I don't even know who we would have played this week. Both guys had horrible matchups. I don't even remember who we put higher in our quarterback rankings. Let me see. Hopefully we put Fields. I don't know why I'm wasting time with this. We put them at 16, 17. Sadly, I screwed you and put the Dak 1 spot higher, which I apologize for. Now, going over and looking at running back, we have CMC as what we thought the anchor RB that we can just jam every single week. That looks to not necessarily be the case anymore. But we do have some depth. We have Hampton, we have Braylon, we have Tootin, we have Chris Rodriguez. Now, for me, in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I would say that we're probably not really excited about the quote-unquote upside that you get with Chris Rodriguez. So if we're not excited about the upside that you get with Rodriguez, and he'd be more so a floor play for a deeper league, I would probably go through and I'd probably drop Rodriguez and pick up Tyler Algier instead. Now, going over and looking at what we have at receiver, we are rolling with Malik Neighbors, Tet McMillan, George Pickens, Josh Downs, Jordan Addison, and Jaden Higgins. So we realistically have like 5 startable wide receivers outside of Malik Neighbors. So the very easy play for me to tell you in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league where we're the number 1 team in the league analyzer, I'm sure you've heard me say it a bunch, is I think your team could potentially trade for an upgrade elsewhere by selling wide receiver depth. Now, the issue that we are going to run into is we don't have a wide receiver in the range of the guys that were going in round 3, like Jackson Smith and Jigba, that we could potentially say, let's go trade JSN and Dak Prescott and get the elite quarterback that way. Now, maybe if Tet smashes week 1, which I have massive expectations for Tet week 1, I think it's a great matchup. I think he's in a really good spot. But maybe if Tet smashes week 1, then at that point you could go through and you could potentially get the value that you would need and trade him, Dak Prescott, in a 2-for-1 deal to go get one of the elite quarterbacks. Obviously, we can offer that right now, but it's probably not going to happen. Another thing that I would offer now that probably also doesn't get accepted, but I'm throwing junk out. But I go through and I offer like, hey, I'll give you one of my depth receivers like Jordan Addison or Josh Downs and McCaffrey to see if I can pivot over to Genty, to see if I can pivot to Achane, to see if I can pivot to Derrick Henry. Obviously, if you could get to the top 3 running backs, it'd be a no-brainer. But if you could find somebody in your league that wasn't worried about McCaffrey's injury at all, and you could just sell them a depth wide receiver that we really don't need ourselves in a 2-for-1 deal with McCaffrey to pivot over to one of the guys that we don't have the question marks with right now, your team's good enough where you could just pay the insurance and not have that problem. But really, those are the only things that I think you could do with this. You have an extremely strong team. It all just comes down to is McCaffrey going to be okay? Is McCaffrey going to survive? And if he is, then obviously we are excited. And I would try to pay the insurance to just see if we can get an elite running back regardless. Now, Alpha was 5510Rs. Don't exactly, or Alpha WA 5510Rs. I'm an idiot. Maybe this is something I don't get. It says, wanted your opinions and what trade strategies I could leverage considering the team. I feel like I'm light at the flex and could potentially be a problem down the road. It's ain't hard to find the team. We are 3rd in the league analyzer. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, so typically the depth's not going to matter much. Man, you're good. This is a good team. Mahomes is like the awkward range of quarterback where it's like, you know what? You're probably starting Mahomes every week, so you probably don't need another QB. But at the same time, you can say, well, looking at the options on the waiver wire, they're not great, right? You got Garindo, who's the best running back. Kyle Williams, the best receiver. Johnny Smith is the best tight end. So while maybe we can sit here and we can say that, we don't necessarily need Lawrence, you don't necessarily need any of the other players, right? So I think you're fine. If you had Josh Allen, I'd be definitely more willing to just say, hey, move on. But there's an outside chance that Trevor Lawrence outscores Mahomes this year. Not likely, but it's not a 0% chance. Or it's a 0% chance he outscores Josh Allen on points per game. Now, looking at what we have with running back, we have Derrick Henry, Kamara as auto jams every single week. We have Pollard as a great flex play in the short term with no Tajee Spears. And then obviously we may or may not need to reevaluate that when we end up getting Tajee Spears back in. We have the Pittsburgh Steelers running backs. We have quality running back depth as well. And here's going to be my number one thing that I would like to do with this team personally. You don't need Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren's a player that honestly has a shelf life, right? Where if we're looking at Jaylen Warren, this is a starting running back in the short term that Caleb Johnson's going to take over in the long term. So a lot of teams really could use Jaylen Warren, and Jaylen Warren's going to be a decent start at the beginning of the season. But for us ourselves, with our team, we're 3rd best in this league at running back. We're not starting him over Henry, Kamara, Pollard. So I think you need to sell a running back depth piece to get an upgrade elsewhere. If you really wanted to get an upgrade at the flex spot, we could explore the possibility of selling Jaylen Warren and Jordan Addison for a better receiver. Let me go through and sort what teams are worst at running back in this league. So this team at running back has Bucky Irving as their RB1, Austin Eckler as their RB2, Jerome Ford as their RB3. This team, in my opinion, really could use Jaylen Warren. Could we try to send them Jalen Warren and Jordan Addison for Marvin Harrison? I'm going to send the offers, see what they say. They probably say no, but that offer is going to their inbox regardless. This team is Trevion, Charbonnet, Dobbins, their top 3 guys. Can I offer them Jalen Warren and Jaden Higgins for Jalen Waddle? Probably going to say no, but that offer is going to their inbox regardless. This team has RJ, Pacheco, Chuba as their top 3 backs. Their issue is they don't have an RB1, right? But they do have okay depth. This team is Hampton, James Conner, Tracy. This team has Gentry, Swift, Ramadre. That team's okay. So overall, if we were looking to try to do something here, it would be trying to package together either Jalen Warren or Tony Pollard, these running backs that are going to be really exciting in the short term, but maybe questionable long-term value with Caleb Johnson expanding his role or Tajay Spears coming back, and send them to a team that needs help at running back. Like this team here that has Jalen Hurts at QB is like, is there a world in which we can sell them Patrick Mahomes and Tony Pollard for Jalen Hurts? So they have Tony Pollard to start instead of Austin Eckler. This team is Lamar. If we were to get to Lamar, there's no way in hell we get him with Pollard. This team is Daniels. I'd send the same offer. They have Daniels and Caleb. Can we send them Mahomes and Pollard to see if we can get to Jaden Daniels? And then do these teams have any tight ends that we could? This team also has Bowers. You could potentially try to offer Alvin Kamara and Mark Andrews for Brock Bowers to that running back needy team. And then all of a sudden we put ourselves in a position where we can use the Jalen Warren points. We can use the Tony Pollard points. So like, I think flex is okay, but if I was just going to be doing something, I would just try to cash in on some of those running backs that are going to have better short-term production than long-term production. But I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, thanks so much for being a member of the flock. And let me make sure I sent you over those free questions. I have not, so let me send them. Okay. And let's move this over to our next one. This is going to come out from Mother Flocka, who's been with us forever. Says, hey, Mason, let me know how I did, and let me know what we should be doing with the bench. Appreciate all that you do. You're the best. Carry me to another championship. Appreciate you as always, my guy. We are Lights, Camera, Jackson. So we are currently sitting here with the second spot in the league analyzer. It is a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So we don't need to worry about the wide receiver depth, and you already know that because we are 3rd in the analyzer at quarterback. We are 1st in the analyzer at running back, and we are 4th in the analyzer at tight end. So we are extremely strong at the positions that we would want to be in this league. Lamar, nothing to talk about. We don't need to be rostering another QB. My tight end room is the exact same thing as this in the flock league where I have Hawkinson and Goddard. And it's like, you know what? I really like the upside of I really like the upside of Hawkinson, but Goddard feels a little too good to let go of. So like I'm rostering both. So I'm in the same boat as you at tight end. Running back, this looks almost identical to my team in the flock league. Where I also have a great running back room with like, you have Bijan, Chase Brown. I have Barkley, Taylor. And then we have the long-term running back upside shots of Judkins, Joe Mixon. We have Trey Benson, Miles Sanders, Rico Dowdle as well. Wide receiver, we have Mike Evans, Amari Hampton, Rome Odunze, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk. Success and life tips. Let me know if you have any more questions of what I sent over to you. Hopefully I was able to help some way. I'm sitting here thinking of any way I could possibly say anything to Mother Flocka. I know waiver wire wise, I would go ahead and I would cut Rico Dowdle and I'd pick up Isaac Grindo at this point until the McCaffrey injury plays out. We'll see what happens. So I'll cut Miles Sanders. I'll cut Rico Dowdle. I'll pick up Isaac Grindo and Deonta Thornton. But outside of making those two very boring cuts and adds, I think you have a great team. Your team is very similar to mine. And I think your format is even better than this. I would, based off what our teams look like, because we have the same team essentially, I would rather be playing in your format than playing in mine. I think you are in a really good spot. I think that's all I got for you. I appreciate you always being with us. And I wish I had more to say, but to be honest with you, I just don't. Now let's move this over to our next one. This is going to be Harry Grossman. Says, I asked who to start at running back 2, and you said it was Gross, so I need your help. I have Godwin on the IR to play a defense. Started out Lamb, Brian Thomas Jr., Lamar, Henderson, Worthy. Running backs were pushed up, so we took wide receiver values. Well, this is a league where you can get away with doing so. Let me first make sure we send you over these questions. It's a league where we can get away with doing so because you can start 4 wide receivers weekly, right? So looking at this, wide receiver is going to make up a very high percentage of our starting lineup output. And for us to have Lamb and Brian Thomas on the same team, it shouldn't be possible. It is a phenomenal pairing. And ultimately, it's going to be another team I don't have anything to say with, to be honest. Actually, that's a damn lie. I can see waiver wire pivots I'd make today. Cut Najee Harris and pick up Quinshon Judkins. Najee Harris hasn't been in practice at all. There's no world in which Najee Harris is anything more than just a premium handcuff back at this point. Obviously, he'll have a role in Los Angeles. Don't get me wrong. But my thing is, I just don't think that role is going to be large enough for you to actually ever plan on starting him. So I would cut Najee. I would pick up Judkins. But we have the elite quarterback. We have Tyler Warren at tight end. We have a league where we can start 4 receivers. So we have CeeDee Lamb, Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy, Matthew Golden. Running back 2 is disgusting. The issue with your team at the end of the day is we have Cam Scatterbo, Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt, Joe Mixon, Jordan Addison, Chris Godwin, all as long-term options and not as options in the short term that are going to be able to help us right now. So week 1, your starting lineup is Gross at running back 2. But we're okay with our lineup being a little underwhelming at running back 2 when we have the best wide receiver room in the league. We have an elite QB. We have an okay tight end. If I were to do anything with your team here, I think it would be maybe trying to get a better running back by selling one of the guys that's not going to be viable early in the season just because we have so many of them. So if you could package together like Jordan Addison and Ja'Cory Crosky-Merritt and get a running back 2 that you like, or if you could package together Chris Godwin and Trevion Henderson to get a running back that you like in the short term, or Chris Godwin and Joe Mixon. And obviously we're going to have to be selling these injured guys or these suspended players at a discount. So we're not wanting to do it in the vast majority of the scenarios. Vast majority of spots, we just kind of want to wait for them to come back because they're going to increase in value as time goes on. But maybe this spot, because you have so many of them on the same team, it could be okay just taking the loss with the value in the long term to get some of the production in the short term. So let me know if you have any questions here, Harry, if you're in this live chat with us. But really, it's just going to be centered around maybe going Godwin and Scatterbo, give me a running back. Addison and JCM, give me a running back. Mixon and Trevion, give me somebody I can play right now. And again, I'm not wanting to do all those trades. I'm not wanting to sell all of these guys that aren't viable at the beginning of the season. I would just maybe want to make one of those deals because, again, we don't need to completely overhaul this team, but just getting one of those short-term pieces in, and then you can afford to wait on the long-term other guys. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. And again, let me know if you have anything else. And then what you do right now is you cut Najee Harris for Quinshon Judkins, which is hilarious because I know I'm going out there and telling you to pick up another player that's either going to be suspended or just simply not on a team early on. So our issue is we have too many of those guys, and I'm telling you to pick up another one. But if it's our last spot on the squad and it's completely free, I think we're kind of okay with it. But let me move over and see if we have any of the quick hitting questions. Let's refresh this. I don't even think we need to hide the team reviews because it feels so much better being caught up on the team reviews than when we were so far behind. So let's move over to Noof's question. This is a start sit. Quarterback, go Baker over Caleb. For the flex spots, we're going to go with DJ Moore and Terry McLaurin. With Olave, just absolute garbage offense. And they're telling us that Terry's not going to be and he's not going to be on snap count week 1. Or at least that's what he said. Who knows if it's true. Next is, if not, what trade should we make to improve from CMC? Do not make this deal. Egbuka to DJ Moore is not that far off. Going to Lamar to Henderson would be selling. Man, you don't panic with McCaffrey right now. Other teams maybe should panic a little bit more with McCaffrey, but you making this kind of deal and moving on from the elite quarterback when we're not 100% sure that McCaffrey's not going to be good to go this year. Like, McCaffrey could be good come this Sunday. We don't know yet. So for you to immediately sign up for like, hey, yeah, I'll get rid of my elite QB advantage just to make sure I'm okay if anything does happen. Like, this is way, way too early. And I would want to charge a higher premium on Lamar as well. So I definitely would rather have the Lamar Jackson side of this for sure. But let's move this over. And so it looks like we actually may be able to... I'm going to turn back on team reviews for a couple minutes. Like I said, here's what we're going to do the rest of, at least until we see otherwise. But every time I turn on team reviews, we'll get like 10 submitted in the span of 10 minutes, and then we turn them off. So we've been kind of keeping them on for 5 to 10 minutes and turning them off. I'm going to turn on the team reviews for probably about 5 minutes here, but I'm not going to be able to get to your team review today if you submit it. It will be covered in tomorrow's live stream. So team reviews are on. It will be covered in tomorrow's live stream if you send one in right now. But again, not today. And let me move this over. And again, I will stall as we do that by reminding you that this is the pick'em I'm going with for tonight. If anybody was interested in tailing us, I'm going to be going with Travis Kelce for fewer than 50.5 receiving yards. I'm going to be going with Amari and Hampton to have higher than 9.85 fantasy points. Patrick Mahomes to have fewer than 19.5 fantasy points. And the reason I'm doing this is because there's the 50% profit boost token on Underdog for tonight's game. Make sure you take advantage of the profit boost token. This is $50 to win 400. They have a 100% profit boost token that comes out tomorrow for the Sunday games. But don't think there's anything else for me to say with that. Oh yeah, and also, again, if you're not already on Underdog, if you use code FLOCK when you sign up, after you play your first $5, you'll get $50 added to your account. And on top of that, if you got the flockfantasy.com season pass, fill out the Google form on the guides page, and you will get an extra $10 on your Underdog account. So you'll like deposit $10, play 5, and you'll have like 70 in your account to take advantage of the promos. Now let's move this over to Harry again. Harry, happy to see us, says, I asked whom to start at running back 2, and you said it was, actually, no, we already just answered this for Harry. So let me hit next. Harry, I'm sorry if you did not see that live. If the automated link's getting sent out to you right now, it probably messed up the timestamp just a bit. Rewind like about 10 minutes, and we covered your team about 10 minutes ago. Now let's move it over to Namora. I can't read, so I'm sorry about this. We have Bandwagon Bears here as our team. We are in a league in which depth matters actually a lot at wide receiver. We do not need to worry about quarterback as much. We do not need to worry about tight end as much because this is a start 9 format. That essentially means that we can start up to 5 wide receivers weekly. And we are the Bandwagon Bears, so we are number 4 here in the league analyzer. So at quarterback, we are currently sitting with Baker Mayfield and Caleb Williams. 10-team league, so it's not the best quarterback room in the world. But again, I would make the argument that with your exact league settings, what's it called? It's not the end of the world here. Like, if it was a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, I'd go, man, this team's trash. You got to sell DJ Moore and Baker Mayfield for a better quarterback. Send Devontae Adams and Baker Mayfield for Jaden Daniels. Send him for Jalen Hurts. But because we can start 5 wide receivers here weekly, quarterback's just going to be less important. Running back, we have Chase Brown, Amari, and Hampton as our 2 guys at the top. And then we have the long-term depth pieces of Scadaboo, Mixon, Trey Benson. And then we also have Ollie Gordon. So as we're looking at the waiver wire running back, I do think that we see Quinshon Judkins as a pretty easy pickup, at least in my mind. I would rather have Quinshon Judkins over Ollie Gordon now that we're in a spot where we H-Chan's good to go. I just don't know what like the reasoning is for the upside case of Ollie Gordon in comparison to Quinshon Judkins. So I would go Judkins over Gordon myself. Wide receiver, we just have so much depth here. But again, it's a league where depth matters because we can start Lamb, Adams, DJ Moore, Jamison Williams, and Igbuka. You can start those 5 wide receivers weekly. So us also having Matthew Golden and Matthew Golden and Khalil Shakir on this team. Like, this is wide receiver depth that matters. Like, I don't want to sell this wide receiver depth. I think you're going to win this league because of it. And then we have a viable tight end with TJ Hawkinson. Is it the best tight end in the world? No. Is it a tight end that we can get by with? Yes. So let me send you over some free questions. It seems like so many of the teams today I've just liked. And we've just had like a single small waiver wire pivot that we want to make. I think that's the case here. If all your receivers crush, which isn't going to be the case, right? Because the thing is, like, I don't want to tell you, yeah, let's go trade Devontae Adams and Baker Mayfield for the elite quarterback now, because we need to start 5 wide receivers weekly effectively with how our wide receiver running back value is distributed. And while I can sit here and go like Adams is probably going to be good, DJ Moore is probably going to be good, J-Mo's probably going to be good, Igbuka is probably going to be good, Matthew Golden's probably going to be good. Even though I think all 5 of these receivers are probably going to be good, the odds that actually happen slim to none. One of these guys will probably just randomly be a bust, whether it's Adams being too old or whether it being one of the rookies not being as good as we thought. Looking at like us trading JMO, you're just going to be absolutely crushed. If like you trade JMO hits, Igbuka and Golden both flop. So you need to hold on to the wide receiver depth. Great team. Love it. Sean says, hey Mason, this is me. I need some help determining every week starters if I trade for running back depth. Do not trade for running back depth. If Amari Hampton face plants in the game tonight, then maybe at that point we need to flip J-Mo for a running back. We need to flip DJ Moore for a running back. But full PPR format, I like you having the wide receivers inside the starting lineup with the flex spots right now. And I think Amari Hampton's going to be a fine RB2. I think Chase Brown's going to be a fine RB1. So I just jam Chase Brown, jam Hampton. If Hampton face plants, then at that point you sell wide receiver for a running back. But for now, I think that this team's almost exactly how I'd want it given your league settings. But I really appreciate you, and I really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this, my guy. But again, really, it's just a great team. I sent you over some of those free vouchers. So if there is anything else that you want us to talk about with your team, I'd be happy to take a look at it. But let me refresh and let's look at the quick questions that we have. And the big one has Allen, Swift, Keon, London versus Goff, Bucky, and Jefferson. So Allen versus Jefferson, give me Jefferson. Bucky versus London, up to you. And I don't think DeAndre Swift and Keon Coleman are going to bridge the gap. So for me, I would go ahead and I would probably easily take the Justin Jefferson side of this. Michael with the trade question. This is Caleb Fields, Brian Robinson versus Mahomes. I probably don't do this. I don't do this until we get McCaffrey updates. Because the thing is, points per game of you playing Caleb and Fields based off matchups versus Mahomes may not be that far off. And if CMC is out for real, Brian Robinson could be a league winner. If you were going to make that deal, my guy, like, I like the idea if the CMC owner in your league is panicking, try to send them Brian Robinson, but I don't know if Mahomes is like a completely different tier quarterback. If he had like Daniels or Hurts, obviously we would do it, or Burrow even. Parlay Degen, we need to take a look at this. We have Michael Penix at quarterback. I saw Parlay Degen have a message in the chat earlier. This week, Flacco or Penix at the Superflex. Okay, I'm going to go with Michael Penix over Flacco at the Superflex, even though Flacco looks to be in a really good matchup. But so is Michael Penix, and that's the thing. Both quarterbacks are in a good matchup, and I'd rather have that piece of the Atlanta Falcons offense. And we leave the rest of the lineup as is. But let me refresh this. I think we're probably going to be calling it a day here. Again, this is what I'm rooting for with Underdog tonight. I don't think I have any players going in the matchup with the Flock League. Let me just see if I have anything there that I need to be sweating, but I think I'm fine. But if you wanted to tail us on Underdog, you can find that link in the description, comment section, live chat. We are going to be going with we're going to be going with Mahomes for fewer than 19.5 points, Amari and Hampton for more than 9.5 points, and Kelsey to have fewer than 50.5 receiving yards. If you're not already on Underdog, if you go through that link and use code FLOCK, they're going to add $50 into your account after you play your first 5. But I think that's all we got in this stream. We're going to not even have to leave YouTube to watch this game, which is pretty exciting. But appreciate y'all and hope we get to see you out with the live stream after the game, where we'll obviously be doing the